everyone. Welcome back to Pitch Please, the podcast where people who play games pitch ideas who make them. It's taken a year. We've got a theme tune. Take it away, Tom.
It's the 2020 episode wrap-up year. Hey, it's time to wrap up 2020 with a load of games that we pitched and did. Ooh, hooray! Yes. Welcome, everyone, to the big bonanza.
It's a no from me, Tom.
That's what you come up with a theme song then.
It tailed off.
It tailed off. But there was enthusiasm, there was energy, there was spunk and gusto. And you know I love spunk and gusto.
About this special podcast, Tom?
I'm so excited. We're ranking all of the games that we've done over 2020 and trying to figure out what is the game of 2020. I can tell you straight away, it's not Cyberpunk, mainly because we didn't pitch it, but also because, yikes. Wow. And also, we're bringing back an old favourite. We've got Matt Castle back again.
Hello.
Welcome back.
Oh, it's very nice. I'm glad I'm an old favourite.
Who, I would like to point out, has his own new podcast, and I'm happy to let you promote it now.
Oh, yeah.
Right now.
Oh,
Go.
It's called The Back Page of Video Games Podcast. It's video games chat through the lens of two people who used to work on games magazines. That's basically all you need to know.
There you go.
If you like games, if you like Pitch Please, it's Backpage Podcast. It's
this is why I think you're going to fit well on this podcast because unlike any of us, you actually, for most of your adult life, you've been professionally reviewing games, right?
Yes, but you've been, you guys have been, well, some of you guys have been making them, which
he
I would say
an amateur as a child.
Yeah, but that's very different. It's very different. You can make a bad game and not know it's bad.
Oh, I knew.
Whereas Chris put his hand up.
I knew.
Whereas I think to be able to distinguish between what makes a good game and a bad game, that takes years of.
It takes spunk and gusto.
Practice, right?
I often, whenever a big game comes out like Cyberpunk and all the journalists go in on it or whatever, you always see devs saying, well, journalists don't know how it really is. They don't really know what it is to make these things. You know, you can't really take them at their word and whatnot. So I don't know. Some people rate us, some people don't.
I rate you very highly, Matt.
Thank you.
I do too. Especially for Red Steel.
Thanks. Yeah. What's my rating out of 10?
9 out of 10.
That's the only language I understand.
not like an alphabetical system. An A minus.
Oh God.
Not do that.
No.
Also, we're way beyond the line, but also we're joined by Chris.
Oh yeah.
Hi. And also James.
Hello.
James, have you got something to deliver to us? Something
James,
to
you've got a
say?
show as well,
I mean,
you
you know
shill
that
to
game?
us.
That game I prattle on about. What's that called again? Oh yeah,
XCOM.
Drink More Glurp.
No, what is it?
Oh, Drink More Glurp.
It is on sale in the Switch store for 60% off, just in time for Christmas.
60%.
60%.
I know.
That's insane.
We're going mad.
Wow.
I mean, we figured
That's over half.
We figured it was a really shit year.
Yeah.
People might be getting together with friends and family. If you can, if you're lucky enough, stay safe. But, you know, get the game. It's great fun and it's cheap. And it was already cheap, but now it's even cheaper. Wow, I'm great at selling
stuff. It's the cheapest it's been ever.
And it's super fun.
It's fucking great.
I don't want to overhype it, but you'll love it. You will love it like your only child.
You'll love it and you'll hate it because
it's better than Cyberpunk, Tom?
Like difficult.
Yeah.
Well, we've got less bugs than Cyberpunk. I can categorically
I mean, you
say
can say that about a lot of games. A lot of games can take that award.
I think it says more about our bleak technological future as well than Cyberpunk. So
Yeah.
I mean, they were on theme.
Okay, all right. Look, we've got a lot to get through. Let's try and rattle on. Tom, how are we doing this? What's the approach here?
So I'm going to start with the earliest episode, so episode 1 first, and I'm going to do a very brief pitch of what that game was, and then we'll say, right, that is the base standard for how we proceed. The next game I pitch is then, is it better than the last one? If it is, then that becomes the standard. We then rate every game compared to that one. And by the end of it, we should eventually have, what is, pitch please, game of 2020.
Flawless.
It should work. We won't have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 all the way through to 10, but we'll have the best one, and that's all that matters.
But you could technically figure it out from the way we work through it.
Maybe. Well, I don't know.
I mean, none of us will.
None of us
Someone
will.
probably would.
Someone will.
Maths?
So,
no.
Shall we begin?
It's the internet.
Shall we begin with episode 1 of Pitch Please, going back all the way to February 9th? February. Why can't I say Feb? Feb 9th. Feb 9th. The first episode of Pitch Please brought us #Blessed, which was a God game, a text-based God game. I think we ended up turning it into an app, or at least it started as an app.
It was set on mobile.
Set on mobile.
I still think about this one.
Yeah, based on the game Lifeline, which was a game where you can direct a dude through a alien wastelandy thing using real-time texts. But #Blessed was a civilization city builder where you are a god, hearing the pleas of your people.
It was a Twitter feed for prayers, right? Essentially. You reply to prayers.
And it wasn't like retweet, it was bless, smite, and
Smite, yeah.
I think pestilence was another one as well. And that's how you run your civilization. And it's multiple different paths through the story. Do you bless this dude? Do you not? There was a little bit of element of papers, please in there, like this one dude that comes back with these really dumb prayers. And I think Alex wanted to incorporate actual voicemail in there as well. So we'd have to record thousands upon thousands of voice lines. I think we all agreed that was a bad idea. But there's #Blessed, the Twitter-based God game.
Casual, mobile,
mobile, somewhat real time. So maybe like 2 days later, you hear an update from, I think it was Georgie the farmer or Georgie the fireman.
Yeah, one of them.
Yeah, you follow someone's like lineage, don't you? Like this person's family, like their entire life, and then perhaps decisions that you make based on their life, whether you smite them or whether you bless them, that might affect their lives and then their children and so on. I
can't remember exactly, but I'm pretty sure we got about a 75% would make would play. I think Chris may have been a would make. May have been a would make. I think he did like that one. But Matt, just I know we'll continue and say, compare them to other games, but how do you feel about #Blessed? It's a very quick elevator pitch.
I like the sound of it. I like the idea of smiting on Twitter. That's good.
That's the dream.
It's basically, I think, pestilence on Twitter. Is that closest to just a like and not a retweet or a follow? Like I don't like likes. I think retweets.
A smite is a mute or a block.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
A bless was like.
A bless was a like. I don't know if we have a retweet. I think it's more of a, do you help this person? And then you gain influence, don't you, Tom? And reach, and then it was something to do with.
And I think there was also I think Satan also had a Twitter, and he would taunt you throughout the entire game as well.
I like the sound of this. That sounds pretty solid. I like the idea of having the ultimate position of power on a social network. That would be good.
Yeah. And also the deactivate account button was just apocalypse, and that's when you restart.
Best game
so far. So pretty positive. I mean, I feel good about this. I still think about this one today. I still think it could be something.
I like it. You can't remember it at all. You might not have been there.
No.
Because a lot of the early episodes, you weren't there, were you?
I was in that one. I remember that one specifically.
We're pitching to James as well now.
All right.
Well, I think you're going to remember the next one.
It's immediately about to be beaten.
I am ready for this one because I remember that Chris hated this one. Alistair hated it as well.
No, I didn't hate this.
You fucking did. Because Alistair
hated this.
Alistair hated it. I liked it.
No, Alistair hated it, and then he turned around and loved it, and it was you that never turned around. I remember this pretty vividly.
I actually quite like this idea, so I don't remember that.
Oh, really? Okay, well, this is John Quick Card Slinger.
Worst
okay,
game.
Are you ready?
No, I'm kidding.
What the fuck? So John Quick Card Slinger is a deck building platformer, endless runner. Yeah. In which like in Mario, it's a 2D side-scrolling game where you're running along the map. Automatically, your character's running along the map, and he will encounter traps, enemies, obstacles, jumps, things to climb, things to whatever. But your deck, it's played in a Slay the Spire format, is things like jump, duck, dodge, attack, climb, and there's certain combo cards in there as well. Like if you do a jump and a somersault, you can regain energy, and then you can use that to increase your speed, slow down, whatever. All played through cards in a deck building game.
And there's a timeline telling you what's coming up, so you can prepare plays in advance.
Yeah, kind of like Descenders. I think is what we said, where you can
And you're
you can
John
see
Wick,
the
right?
certain routes. Also,
John
yeah,
Quick.
You're John Quick.
For
You're
legal
not John
reasons.
Wick. For legal reasons,
for
you're
legal
John
reasons.
Quick.
Similar.
And yeah, it was kind of like this fast playing deck building game where you can really rapidly throw cards away out of your deck so you never see them again because you're like, well, fuck, I've already got a better jump card now. I've upgraded. I should get rid of all the other jump cards or whatever. But because of the fast pace of it, sometimes you make mistakes. Sometimes you lose health. Maybe you lose speed and slow down. And you can see an entire map of the game as you play it. Deck building game.
Mm.
How do you feel?
Oh, that wasn't a good noise.
No, that wasn't a good noise.
Surely you just look at the level and you're like, I need 5 jumps, 2 ducks, and then you build that deck and then
Oh, he
it's
doesn't
done,
like it,
right?
Tom.
So
Well, no, because you don't necessarily see the level, right?
No, you don't see
I
the
think-
level before you go in. Wasn't that the thing? You just
Right.
like you see like the next 3 things coming up, and you have to. You can only your hand can only be so big.
I think the way we went with it was like each level is like, say, 1,000 meters or whatever. You complete that level, and then you have a split path where you choose 2 different areas you can go to, and you can kind of vaguely see, oh, there's a lot of enemies on this side. I don't have a lot of attack cards. There could be a lot of traps on this side. I do have a lot of dodge cards, so you're like, cool, I'll go that way. I think that's how we imagined it. Also, in terms of like the deck building aspect, like Slay the Spire, you draw 5 cards, you play the 5 cards, and then you draw a random set of 5 cards. So you kind of have to build this perfect deck where you're ensuring that you have the right cards in your hand
Right.
for any scenario. Or maybe you try and focus it down and hope that you get a monster room or a monster level because you've got tons of attack cards. And
And that
that's
sounds still
much it.
sounds a bit rigid to me. Like,
Oh, no.
oh,
all right.
if
Firstly,
certain things,
Tom
if
is
certain
gonna
things are
cry
gonna
later.
react, if certain things are going to react to certain things, so you need them, and I get that you can add flourishes to get like energy back, like you said, but I don't know. I feel like people are trying to stretch deck building games into genres which don't necessarily fit them. Because
then
isn't
you
there
are
that one
not
which
going to
is,
like
Tom.
the next 10 games.
isn't there, there's that one
40
with
games
the,
on this list.
there's one which is like a fist fighting game where you play cards to do a fight. Is it fights in
Fights
tight?
in
do you
tight
mean
places.
by our good friend James Parker from the Bristol Games Hub?
I'm sure it's great.
I know it's quite fun. It's quite fun.
No, but like I don't know. Like for me, the kind of endless runner, the bit of my brain that taps into is the kind of the reactive dexterity of my platforming, not the detached movement of a deck building game. I don't know. Doesn't do it for me.
Okay, well, all right. So you would say between those two, #blessed wins out.
Yeah, blessed.
Yeah? Okay.
All right.
Hang on.
But that's
we
certainly
get
my
any-
take.
This is a
How
vote.
about
This
you
is a
guys?
vote.
Yeah. I mean,
I think it's actually
John
safe
Quick
to
all the way.
say, actually, if we did it so it was just Matt, James, and Chris that voted for him, then
See,
I
I
will definitely have an answer.
you see, I genuinely think it should.
Oh, Chris is
We should give Matt the power
What?
because we're going to be very
No,
tied into
because
we're too
certain
close.
things,
We're
and I
too
think
close
Matt
to it.
is
No,
just
I
going to
don't-
be
I
like
don't-
on
I don't
instinct.
think we
Well, that
should
doesn't sound
because-
that great.
I don't think we
I
should because
also have
immediately
2
John Quick is
pitches.
out.
I
That's
have
true.
2
He does have
pitches in the
to.
mix,
That's
which
true.
On
gives
that
me
one, it's our power.
too much power, given
what do
what
you-
I stand to win.
That's true.
Chris, what do you think?
I think I understand where Matt is coming from on that, and I think between the two, I think Blessed is maybe edging forward
Yeah.
just because of. I don't think that. I'm trying to word this in a
Tom's
way
livid.
that I think that
You
you
have to
could.
be a little bit quicker, Chris. We don't want to
Sorry,
be here
yeah.
for 4 hours.
we can cut that. I think Blessed is better
won't.
because of the premise, and I think just the simple mechanics as
Yeah, okay.
You know.
No, it's fair enough.
Well,
I
that's
agree.
it. It doesn't even matter what James thinks. Then we've got that's it.
Well, I was thinking, actually,
We're on to the-
I said
two
we should
for
just
two.
give it the power to James, Chris, and Matt, because then it's 3. There's 5 of us here right now. We could literally just do all of us.
Well, I'm John Quick.
James?
We know Tom's
James
John
is still
Quick.
down is the deciding vote.
Fuck.
Well-
Why have you done this to me? Look,
on, James.
I know John Quick holds a particular affinity in our hearts, but on that
He's
second
stabbing
pitch,
us, Tom.
on the second pitch, actually, #blessed I feel like is more unique.
That's
more,
what's convinced me as well.
Yeah,
more-
you know what? Honestly,
it's got more legs to it.
Alex,
Whereas John Quick maybe is a bit.
You're turning as well, Tom.
I think you're saying I'm livid about this, but having repitched it and comparing it to #blessed, I think it's one of those things where I think it could be a really, really cool game. I think there's something there. However, it's not quite complete. I think #blessed is so much more feature
Feels more
complete,
solid.
almost ready to go. Like we could just write all the shit for it and stuff would just come to
Yeah.
us. It's got more inspiration to it. Whereas John Quick is like, I think it will take a lot more work to make it playable and ready to go
All
and
right,
not
fair enough.
frustrating.
Holy shit! Well, anything can happen, I guess, on this episode. So the next one is a slightly more unique one, right, Tom?
Yeah, so this was pitched by Will. Episode 3, we immediately broke the mold and said, I'm not going to pitch an episode and a game developer is going to pitch one. This is Will, the maker of Cave Blazers. He pitched My Feral Kid.
I think
Honestly,
you can sum
is
this up
crazy.
very in like one sentence.
Yeah, you're a
couple
feral
of words
child
almost.
trying to escape your parents, I think.
adopted
I
parents.
can't
It's
remember
like
this one.
Octodad,
Like
right?
Octodads.
But you're a feral child.
Yeah,
So
so
you're a feral child who was
you're in
raised
a
by
normal
wolves.
family. You've been adopted by a normal family, but you're trying to escape
To
them
go back to
again.
the wilds, yeah.
But without obviously being caught by like child services or animal control, depending on which one comes after you.
Right.
But you're in like normal situations, like a shopping center, and you
Yeah.
have to try and like get away. But
But you don't know how to walk or run or anything. You're like up
Yeah,
running
that
on all
was a
fours
weird
because
one.
you were
It was-
raised by wolves.
because you're a
Wolves know how to
feral,
move. It's not like
Yeah, no, they
wolves are
do.
just
On all
rolling
fours.
around the forest.
Yeah, but on all
no, but you're a
fours.
child on all fours
You also can't communicate. You just growl.
because you're feral. I don't
and
think
you-
you fully understand how feral children work.
from a shopping centre easily enough.
Yeah, but
If you
you're
released a
not the
wolf in a
wolf.
shopping centre, it would have a decent go of it.
But you're not the wolf. You're a child that was raised by wolves.
Yeah, but you've got a wolf-like personality, right? Or
But
power.
not wolf-like
Well,
senses.
Wasn't it more that we had to like you were able to like be a normal, to present yourself as a normal child
Oh,
for a
for
limited amount of time.
Periods of time.
There was like a meter almost, so you could walk on 2 legs for 15 seconds
Yeah.
or whatever, and then you would have to hide somewhere.
Because your legs weren't
There was a
developed enough.
suspicion
'Cause-
meter, wasn't there? Yeah, there was like you'd have to try
suspicionometer.
and blend it.
That was it, yeah.
Try
that
and
was
blend
ripped
in.
straight out of Octodad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then you would set distractions, so you might pull the fire alarm, or you might I don't know, steal something and run.
Will said
There was
that
all sorts
if
of
I remember
mad
correctly,
stuff.
that he was willing to let us, he wanted a bite mechanic.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
was a bit much.
You wanted to be able to bite people.
He wanted to be able to bite people. I think this just gives you a sort of deeper dive into Will's mind than
This was one of those
Anything.
ones that was like a one-word pitch. I think he just said, "You're a feral child," and then he
Yeah.
just let us run with it, and that's what we came up with.
So Octodad is a feral child.
It's not as distinct as an octopus. Like there's a
No.
big gap between there's an octopus trying to pretend to be human and there's a human who's got animal tendencies pretending to be human.
Yeah, I know,
Yeah,
I get
that's a-
that. It's a
that's a
lot
good
easier
point.
to pretend to be human when you are one.
Yeah.
Like it's easier to mask snarling than it is you're an octopus.
8
I would
legs.
say.
I mean, yeah, like if it's between this and #blessed, I'm definitely with blessed.
Oh yeah,
Personally.
Yeah.
How's everyone else feeling?
Yeah,
Is this unanimous?
I wanna
I'm
find-
more for the feral child actually.
Really?
My feral child. I think it's got more opportunity to be funny.
So you're
and-
saying My Feral Child is better than John Quick?
Well, that's actually,
Well,
yeah.
John Quick's out the picture now,
think
though, right? It's
actually, yeah.
blessed.
Based on the John Quick pitch, I would still say My Feral Child is better than John Quick.
Wow.
Jesus fucking Christ. I'm blown away.
Just found out no one likes John Quick.
Unbelievable.
All right. So sorry, Will. My Feral Kid is immediately out.
Yeah, that's out.
The very first game still on top. What's next?
It's all downhill from the very first episode. Amazing. The next episode this is when we had a load of community pitches in there. I cannot remember what they are because I'm literally looking at the titles of these.
I can remember one. From the title. I remember what we ended up with, and
Yeah,
it wasn't
we ended
a
up-
game.
Oh no, this was one that I came up with. This was a me pitch again that we did at the end of it. I remember one of the pitches was find a co-op game where you have to find shoes, duplicate pairs of shoes, and also duplicate. I can't remember how we got to that. Anyway, this one, the episode is called Tingle, and this was an ASMR app where you open up the app and you're like, "Ooh, really feeling some sequined pillows today." So you put your headphones in and you literally just interact with a sequined pillow and you just get noises and stuff
Wasn't
like that.
it called Tingle because I suggested that we turn it into an ASMR dating app where you find people who like the same sounds as you?
Yeah, you have to find your tingle.
It was based on Tinder and just the noises of tingles.
So it was Tingle, T-I-N-G-L.
No
And you,
so not quite a game, but...
That was it. No,
it was a service. It was a service.
Said it was between Grindr and Tinder because I said it should be called Gay SMR, and that was the service. I remember it now, and I think I got the same reaction as I did this then.
Yep.
Yeah,
and you haven't learned.
It wasn't really a game. This was just like one that I just slapped onto the end of a community episode because it was a service
I like this
where
one.
you can just
I feel like it should exist.
satisfy your ASMR needs while also finding other people around the world who share your ASMR. Oh, and the idea was like those pillows that like light up when your partner is also asleep halfway across the country. You can play ASMR to other people and build like your own
people across the world.
Now I think about it, it's like having your own DJ set for ASMR, where everyone's just like laying in the arena, listening to you just playing like, oh, time for pillow sequence. Oh, time for me to poke that sludge.
All right, so taking away people's general feelings about ASMR, the idea. What are you thinking?
I would still rather play a game than have a dating app, personally.
That's true. This is
a dating app
hashtag
based on what noises you like.
It's very hard and there's nothing wrong with the concept of the app, but it's quite hard to compare to like a fun game where you control the world through Twitter.
Okay, now hang on. What if I very quickly turned it into a game by saying it was DJ Hero, but it's ASMR Hero?
Oh, that's still something that's creepy.
It's creepy as fuck. No, I hate it. Personally, I hate it. I'm just wondering.
I don't think.
Can we gamify ASMR?
I don't think it's going to win out.
Game ASMR.
I don't think. I don't think it's worked.
I don't think it's worked, Tom.
No.
One out, yeah.
Good. I'm glad. The next one is Human Crossing Rising Damp. I'm going to skip that one.
It's literally the worst thing we've ever come up with.
Really?
Yeah, that was
awful.
Animal Crossing, but you're a human and you just have to deal with the miserable...
And it became part of the curriculum at one point?
Yeah, we'll skip that.
Yeah,
we'll
that
skip
was how we got to play, yeah.
It was just
right,
miserable. I think I was just like depressed that day or something.
After the recording, you came to me and said, look, can we not put this out?
Yeah. Oh, yes. You did.
I
did
remember
anyway.
that. I remember that.
Yeah.
It was just a really miserable episode.
I mean, it was just Animal Crossing, but made boring.
But you're humans.
Right? And people forced to play it because it was part of the curriculum.
Yeah,
that's really all it was.
It was just a way for children to learn about rent and taxes and all the shit stuff.
Because that's what we said was missing from Animal Crossing, apart from the mortgage, is that you don't, as a kid, you don't understand it.
It gives
so
you
what
inflated expectations of animal,
I'd like to say we said we were skipping this, when actually what we've done is explain it quite well. But it's not better than Blessed.
John Quick.
You fucking... Okay. Alex, you can take this one. This was the first guest pitch we had.
Oh yeah, so this was Ravs joining us for what was known to be what ended up being called Mines of Molyneux.
So I wasn't on this one.
Basically,
so I'm down for the pitch.
So the idea for this it is basically, have you ever played Deep Rock Galactic?
Mm-hmm. Love that game.
So it's Deep Rock Galactic, where you're a team of dwarves going into mines, but instead of sci-fi, it's fantasy. And then there was one additional mechanic where you're all chained together. Right?
It was fantasy Deep Rock Galactic, but there's one new mechanic.
You're chained together.
You're all chained together, basically, and you have to find some way to progress down through the mines and maybe you'll find a key, or maybe you'll find a weapon that will be able to remove people, or someone will die and you'll have to drag them along.
There was a
with you.
thing also where you had to lay track as you go, and you have a cart, and that's how you get back. So when you die, you respawn and you come back on the cart. So as long as you lay down the track, as well as fighting off everything as you're going,
That was
you can
it,
get
yes.
back
Also,
to where you are.
I think there was like this weird like dynasty of dwarves that you picked as well that all had familial traits to each other as well.
And then when they
you
died,
started off in
didn't
a
you
tavern,
like
didn't you?
you start as their son or something,
You
and
start as
you
like,
could go
pick a
find their
roster
stuff.
of-
It came like
you pick
Rogue
a roster
Legacy.
of dwarves or something to
Yeah.
send down into the mine. It was
So you're tied
it was
together
odd.
So there are
all the
different
time.
classes.
Yeah, you're tied together
Yeah,
all the time.
you're chained together. Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
And you have
also,
to-
at the end, Peter Molyneux comes out and says, "You completed my game."
Yeah, because
Right.
I
we
can't remember how
I
that
can't remember
went.
why, but we needed a celebrity endorsement, and we thought that it was weird enough that he would do it.
Yeah, yeah.
And that thus started our what
The first
celebrity
person to
can
complete
endorse
it-
this.
Yeah, the first person to complete it would win an internship as well.
That was it, because at the end of the mine there was a surprise, but we didn't know what it was, and so it was like that game that Peter Molyneux made where you had to click the box, and at the end
yeah.
that
That was
one
it,
guy
yeah.
found out
Yeah.
what it was, and it was probably really disappointing.
Probably.
and
Or
he
an
could choose
internship
to
to work
tell.
on Goddess. Yeah, I think so.
Was that what it was?
It was something like
Yeah,
that.
and then they
Oh,
never,
Jesus.
and then they started to ignore him after a while. I think.
Yeah.
And didn't.
There was an interview with him. We spoke about it in this
He
episode.
ghosted. Great.
Yeah, we spoke about it in the episode, but the kid just got ghosted by Peter Molyneux. It was amazing.
That's the prize. Be ghosted by Peter Molyneux.
Yeah, that's the dream.
Okay, so is this in any way better than #blessed?
It's quite good, I think.
Really?
Oh.
What appeals to you? Just
it's,
Deep Rock Galactic or-
it's a combination of things that I quite like. Admittedly, those things already exist, so maybe you don't really need it. But you know, I like Rogue Legacy. And I like sort of lineage systems, and I quite like the co-op mining thing. I don't know if it's different enough from Deep Rock Galactic for you to really, dig it. Pardon the pun.
Nice.
I like the idea of them being chained together. Does that mean when you die, you have corpses chained to you forever?
Absolutely, yeah. You have to drag them around.
That's quite
But
strong.
I think there was some kind of thing where we decided that there were ways that you could, like maybe you would find a key or a weapon that could break the chains.
Right.
But basically, if you were together, you were stronger, but it meant that you had a smaller share of the loot. So there was a possibility that you could like get rid of the other people.
It also has the slight problem that you die, then you're reborn, and you ride a minecart, and you arrive at what is basically a load of dwarves chained to corpses, and you then chain yourself to them as willingly going, yeah, this seems good.
Yeah.
I guess so.
There's a couple of
Maybe you
loopholes
go
in
to
the
front.
story.
That's not great. I mean, that's
You've sold
definitely
me on the chain idea now. If there's just a chain of
the
corpses,
imagery, yeah, it's got me a bit excited.
Let's go.
So,
Yeah, we didn't think about the logistics of it, I'll be honest, but
is anyone favouring this over #blessed?
I'm not personally. No,
no, probably not.
only because
It's close.
it exists.
that was close, was it? Well,
Okay.
okay.
So this is the closest it's been.
Now-
Well, how about this one then?
I can tell you though, this one I think is a real contender. This one I really, really enjoyed this one. So this is a game called Mind Splitter, where it's a puzzle game in which, now I will say that much later down the line, we realized this game is being made pretty much. But it's a game
We weren't
where
aware of that at the time.
we weren't aware of it at the time. This was a T. Hazel original, baby. So it's a puzzle game where you're in a room, and I think we said we'll just pretend it was like a classroom or something, where you interact with certain things. You, I don't know, write on the whiteboard, or you, I don't know, make a coffee or something. And then 60 seconds later, or an amount of time later, you are then warped to a alternate version of this room in a completely different alternate reality. Or maybe it's just a similar layout, but this is a lab this time. And you see the effects of the things that you did in the 60 seconds in the first room play out in some form in this way. So the realities are merging together and interacting with each other. So when you write on the whiteboard, maybe that, brought up this theorem or something on the blackboard in this universe because it's opposites. And if you made a coffee in this one, it turned on the machine that powered the fucking lab experiment or something. And the more you play, after 60 seconds in the alternate reality, you then go back to the other one. So it's constantly warping back and forth, but you see the effects of your movements in each one affecting the other way, the other world. And the game is to get to the end, figure out what the puzzle is to begin with.
There's a correct order of things that you need to do to solve the puzzle. Using
the movements in one reality to affect you in the other reality. It's very confusing. And then get to the end of the puzzle by merging the two realities together as much as you can to solve the puzzle. And, maybe there'd be different rooms where you need the bridge to lower down. So you need to find what in the other reality makes the bridge lower or what controls that.
I see.
But it might not be obvious. Like, it won't be there's a lever next to the bridge. That might just open a door to the left of it.
Well, in the other reality, it could be something completely obscure, like turning on the coffee machine for some reason lowers the bridge in the other reality. And it's
You're
a game
really
where
into
you
this making coffee.
Yeah, I think he really needs a cup.
All of your examples have been you make a coffee and something happens.
Also, you could press you could flip the lever in one reality, and in the other reality, it turns on the coffee machine again.
Right, yeah.
But the idea of the game was, you just are in this room for like 60 seconds, and you don't know what the puzzle is yet. You don't know what the other reality even looks like yet, but you just do stuff to see what they do. And then you go to the other reality, and you're like, okay, I vaguely remember the path I took. I think I did this thing and this thing, and they did these things. They made these things happen in this reality. And it's a game that you have to play it, like, you have to go through the loop like 6-7 times before you start seeing the patterns. You start seeing the things that you've been doing in other realities affecting you, or maybe the second reality, whatever. And then I think we went a little bit overboard and said the end of the game is when it turns into like 3 different realities, then 4 different realities. And that's when it got weird. But I think it's one of those, like, it could be, obviously, we need to come up with more puzzles than turn on the coffee machine. But, like the first puzzle room could be relatively simple, and then you introduce a new mechanic, And with that movement of the alternate realities interacting with each other, I think that's how you can start making some unique, cool puzzles in a Portal-esque fashion, I suppose. And I think it's really cool. I think it'd be really, really, really cool. So there you go, Mind Splitter. That was a long elevator ride, but there's your elevator pitch.
How does everyone feel about that? We all of us, apart from Matt, here for that one. I think we were, right? James, you would have joined us by that point.
Yeah. I love that.
Ruta was here as well, and about halfway through said, "Is it real?" And we didn't know what she was talking about. We thought she was just having a crisis in the middle of the episode. Like we were talking about timelines the entire time, and then she was like, "No, that's what I want to call it." So it was kind of called Mind Splitter. Is it real?
Yeah, that was like the subtitle.
Yeah.
Okay. So what do you think, Matt? What's your
I like the idea of a puzzle game where the main puzzle is to like tease out the relationship between two things or what the actual puzzle element is. I think that's cool. I dig this game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Better than Blessed, though?
Yeah, I think mechanically I'm more interested in this one.
Not
less so the coffee machine. I would remove all the coffee machine stuff from the pitch.
Veto and coffee.
It's a very like coffee-centric universe. It's odd.
Maybe that's the objective of the puzzle. You just need a dang coffee.
Mm-hmm. That's the very first thing that you do, right? And then it gets way more complicated.
Level
after
1,
that.
make a coffee. But it's level 2, nuclear reactor.
Yeah, that's the progression that you need.
That's the curve.
I think it's
about this.
Replaces Blessed.
Wow.
I think it has to. What is anyone else?
For me, no question. Mind Splitter is so much better.
Yeah.
So much more potential for interesting story. And I think when we were talking about the many dimensions at the end, I mean, that just opened it up for me. And I was like, oh man, we could do so many crazy things with that. Maybe different people sort of interacting with each other. And I think it's just brilliant. I love it.
Wow. Okay. Well,
amazing.
So we've got a new winner.
We've got a new number
best
one.
Of so
we are now
far.
combining. We're now comparing to Mind Splitter the entire way through now.
Is it about to be immediately broken?
It's about to be. If it's not about to be immediately broken, I'm
no.
fucking
I know
nuts.
what the next game is, and it's not.
Because what is it?
Dungeon Daddy.
Yeah, Dungeon Daddy and the Crystal of Wisdom.
It literally, right, I will say this.
Good.
This game, we came up with this game on the 29th of March. On the 19th of March, the game that everyone says this is already came out.
Wait, what game does everyone say it is?
Legends of the Keepers.
It's not that. I don't know why people keep saying it's not that.
It's the opposite of that.
So, okay. Dungeon Daddy and the Crystal of Wisdom, Matt.
But just who you are is opposite.
Yeah, is a game where you are a ethereal, all-knowing crystal of wisdom. You are the Dungeon Daddy, and you have these adventuring children that you can send out from all ages, including babies. They serve a very special role in the game, which I'll get to later. The children, you train them up through little mock trials, through like these made up dungeons where you put, there's a spike trap here, there's a skeleton guard around this corner, there's, I don't know, a slime wall. They run through it with the most advanced AI that has ever been created in any game.
Okay.
So when they run through it, it's literally like one of those. I'm not sure if you've seen these videos on YouTube where they say like, "Oh, we trained an AI to make it through this
machine
level
learning."
Machine learning, yeah. So the first time through, it just runs straight into a spike wall. The next time round, it's like, "Oh fuck, okay, don't go near the spike wall, that'll kill you." So they dodge around it, and the more trials you put them through, the more they learn. They can learn them in perk points or whatever. And have like a particular skill tree, and then you send them through the actual dungeon, the like no holds barred. Here's the dungeon. Like what you've learned, you have to go through and make it as far as you can. They'll pick up gear as they go, but you are just watching the AI that you've trained through all of these little mock dungeons go through and just make it through. And there was also a like intuition stat where if they come across like a spike ceiling trap and you're like, fuck, I never trained them for this. I never trained them for spike ceiling trap. Then they might just roll like high on intuition and just be like, I've got it. I'm intuitive enough to know how to get through it. And you're like, fuck, yes. Yeah, he did it. And getting the AI that you've taught through the dungeon. And if they don't make it, they die. And their essence is brought back to be absorbed into the Crystal of Wisdom to impart their knowledge to future generations of adventuring children. Also, you can send scout babies.
Okay.
And that's all I'll say on that.
Okay, so it's quite mechanically deep, I think. There's quite a lot going on, right? It feels like definitely like you're kind of Matt's objection there.
I just worry that the reward of this game is that you sit back and just have to watch a load of stuff happen, which isn't very interesting.
You're wrong.
Maybe he's.
That's the climax of this game. Is that your job is done and you have no interaction and you just watch the AI do it and go, "Yep, they sure did it."
But it's like Factorio or Viscera Cleanup Detail, where the end of the game is just looking upon your work.
Yeah,
no, but Factorio has a goal, and so does Viscera.
Yeah, so does this.
You do everything to get to that goal.
Yeah, but so does this. You put people through training regimens and give them gear.
You just go on, and then watch, and then you go on again, and then watch, and then you say, "Oh, go off you go and watch."
Yeah, I love that.
It's like an idle dungeon crawler game.
No, it's not.
Well, idle games you don't do much. I think my point has been made there.
I must say, again, this is one of those ones that I wasn't on, and this is the first time I'm hearing this pitch, and that's my initial takeaway was, well, what do you actually do? So I've still might split for me.
That you trained from birth. Complete a dungeon.
I will say, you were right, Tom. It isn't like Legends of the Keepers, because that, by the looks of it, has gameplay.
Oh no! Tom, I'm sorry. I think they may have found a chink in the armor there.
I do like the idea of like training something being like the central mechanic, but then, I thought I did until I heard this idea. That's because that it's all like when I was on Pitch Please earlier in the year, I had a few ideas, and one of them was about a training thing, but then now you've said that, it's like, well, yeah, this game, the only place it ends is with you standing aside and not doing anything, which is just such a duff end of any game.
Okay, I have a strong counter argument, a very strong counter argument. The Chow Garden from Sonic Adventure. People love that shit. And all that is feeding Chow and giving them animals, and then you just watch them do the race.
That's not the main game. That's like 5 minutes.
People,
here you go. Here's a side quest.
People could happily spend hours playing the Chow Garden, right? And I have.
Sonic fans can happily play hours.
Oh, no, I mean,
Chow Garden. We're not talking about rational,
it was good.
regular
like,
humans here.
Okay, Tamagotchi. Tamagotchi is another thing where it's just... You have a thing, you feed it every now and then. Sure, maybe it's a bit more of an idle game than Tamagotchi, sure. But like, just in the Chow Garden, you just watch it do the race. Yeah, you can spam A to do the cheer button, but it doesn't do anything, I don't think.
I feel like if you're using Tamagotchi to back up your case so that this game lets you do stuff, I don't think you have a strong argument.
No, I'm talking about the idea of you've got this thing. It doesn't really do anything. You don't really do anything except feed it and clean up its shit. But like, that's all it is. People fucking love Tamagotchi, and people love the Sonic fans love the Chow Garden.
But you've got to remember when these things came out.
Ethos is there.
Are we saying that this, like, it could be good? It just needs more. Whereas versus Mind Splitter, that's stronger just on its base concept.
Yeah. I think Mind Splitter is stronger because it's a video game, and this is more of a video.
I want to point out,
and a thing happens.
I think Dungeon Daddy might have been the first time we had a would play from everybody, including Will, who said he would make it. And
so it was his idea.
Still hasn't. It wasn't his idea.
Was it not?
No, it was my idea, but he loved it. He was sold in the first 5 minutes of the pitch and just said, "Right, okay, I'm done. Is the episode over?"
I think. Well, no. Also, but he had a big lunch. Remember?
He had a big lasagna. Yeah.
He had a big lasagna. I think on reflection, a lot of these ideas, as I retake them in, I'm going to be more critical of. I'm not caught up in the excitement of the moment.
We were a bit giddy.
Yeah.
Perhaps
just happy to be there. Not like now.
Oh my god!
I also think you're trying to sex the idea up by calling it Dungeon Daddy when fundamentally you're talking about a crystal.
No, it's Dungeon Daddy. Dungeon Daddy.
I think you're trying to view the crystal with more personality than it actually has. Like, if I was like, when you said Dungeon Daddy, I was like, okay, I'm interested to hear about this Dungeon Daddy character. And then you were like, it's a crystal. And I was like,
okay,
no, thank you.
If you want more, there was actually more character development for the Dungeon Daddy. When the child that you've trained this entire time gets to the end of the dungeon, he goes against the final boss. It's you.
Wait,
but you're still a crystal.
He's done a full circle and returned to where he started. I thought this whole deal was you were training him to move away from you, but you are the end.
No, he comes back. Your child that you train, he wants to destroy the Crystal of Wisdom. So you then have to defend yourself against the child that you've raised. There's your fucking gameplay. Fuck you,
Tom.
Right, I think we know the answer.
I think it's time to. It's time to stop. It's time to stop. I know it's going to work.
Okay. Dungeon Daddy versus Mind Splitter.
Now, the next one.
It's Mind Splitter. Sorry.
It's being.
I was going to say, by the way, it's 45 minutes we've been going.
We need to really smash through these quicker.
We need to tear through these. The next one was a pitch by Booth. It was called Don't Die Nasty Warriors.
This can be done very quickly. It's literally...
I can run down this one if you want.
Okay.
You're inside the human body, and you play as the immune system of a guy, and you just react to things that happen. Like he might get stabbed, so you're like, okay, I need to get to the stab wound and fix up the wound. If there's any infections coming in, hence the Dynasty Warriors, because there's a huge amount of blood, like white blood cells, and that's why it's called Don't Die Nasty Warriors, because you don't want him to die in a nasty way.
Yeah,
awful name.
I was very proud of that at the time.
But it's a management sim in the human body, right? That's basically
but with a lot of,
I think sounded great.
A lot of random events, and that's just the person that you're controlling, I suppose, doing stupid shit, like falling down a river.
But there was
does
ones
that
where you
sound-
could choose the body at the start. You could choose the person. So like a businessman wouldn't get into a lot of things, but he might take drugs, and you're like, okay, well, I need to control this thing.
You have to
I'm
react
not trying
to
to
it.
link those two things
a
together.
Rimworld
But
like
Cast aspersions on businessmen.
a Rimworld
Okay, so does
like
that sound better than
in the body.
Mind Splitter?
with Dynasty Warrior level combat.
I do quite like that one. As a setting,
yeah,
I like the idea of the different things that can go wrong with the human body, like the potential for different levels. Quite fun.
So many things.
Yeah.
Especially as you get older as well.
It reminds me a bit
gets
of
worse
Inner
and worse.
Space, which is a film I like, so I've got a nostalgic buzz from that.
We did talk about that. Okay. I mean, I am pro Don't Die Nasty Warriors here.
me too.
I really
What,
like Mind
over
Splitters, but I
Mind
feel like
Yeah,
I think so, yeah. I feel like I can just see the game in my head already.
Really? I'm still Mind Splitter on this one.
Well, yeah, I'm Mind Splitter,
Oh.
but that's me.
that's me.
Wait, so then
That's
That's
3 for 2.
That's 3-2. So
So Don't Die Nasty Warriors is currently the best game? Really?
I think so.
Jesus Christ.
Edit, we have a lot more. Okay, so the next episode was a game idea generator. I think we have to skip it because we have no idea what
I
happened
can't
in
remember
that episode.
any of the games in that one. The next
And
one,
they would have all been shit.
they were all fucking awful.
They did not
The next
beat
one
Don't
is
Die Nasty
CT Light. It's so the letter C, the letter T, light, like city lights. This was a pitch by Angor Tom, who it ended up being a deck building game, which I know that Matt loves, but it's also a city builder where you play down skyscrapers, you play down hospitals, you play all these different things. And I think they had adjacency bonuses, but I don't know if I'm just thinking of Concrete Jungle, which is a game that he said, we've just made Concrete Jungle. Because I've played quite a bit of Concrete Jungle and it's pretty good, which is a deck building city builder. I can't actually remember what City Light was.
Was this game basically just Concrete Jungle?
I think it accidentally became that because we then had to we halfway through the episode we looked on Steam to look at it.
Yeah.
The thing is, I don't think any of us can actually recall this very well, which means it probably wasn't very. It's not going to win out over Don't Die Nasty Warriors, right?
I think it ended up being a very quick, like 5-minute city builder that you rapidly progress through. Next one is was a pitch by Rithian, and this is called Sean Connery's Sorcerer's Apprentice. Rest in peace. And this was a VR game where you are a wizard that could cast all of these spells using a lot of different VR things like the speech recognition and moving your hands in very particular motions. I think it was a stealth game. It ended up being a stealth game.
There were stealth elements, yes.
Where you have to try and navigate through the level, collect whatever you collect. But so kind of like Dishonored, but you're using spells that you've learned.
Essentially, yeah, you're just moving your hand around to create. It's almost like the mechanic. Do you remember Black and White? Where you have to with the mouse, you create patterns to do little spells. It's that, but in VR, and it's combat.
And I think the idea was that you did know every spell. Like you could theoretically cast every spell. However, you don't necessarily know the combinations. But when you see an enemy using that spell, and you're like, okay, he's moving his hand this way, and he's got a fucking blaze potion in his hand. He's got a coffee machine in his hand. Then that'll cast the instant regeneration spell. And you're like, oh, perfect. Now I know that just by witnessing this enemy do it.
I like that.
And you have to make notes. You have to write in game, in VR, in a notepad, what the spell is. And so your spell book is a custom made thing that you're just learning by just watching people fight you or watching people fight in the distance or whatever.
Of revenge?
Maybe you can have custom spells as well.
Didn't your wizard?
Sorry?
Didn't your wizard dad die or something? And you lost the book.
Oh yeah,
yes, because the dad was played by Sean Connery.
Yeah,
that was
where
it.
the name came from.
And that's where you get your wand
you're
from.
the Sorcerer's Apprentice.
Yeah,
but it was very much a story based, as you would expect from Rithian, a story based game where you are a VR wizard or a wizard, and it's played in VR.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, like I hate to mark things down because it's VR, But for me, any game where I have to have the extra effort to put the headset on, and I don't know.
So no VR games is what you're saying there, because that's really all VR is the thing you have to put the head. The one requirement for VR is a headset.
I mean, it's not going to beat Don't Die Nasty. It's not going to beat Don't Die Nasty.
Oh no, I don't think it does
for me. I mean, Matt, are you much of a VR?
I like the idea of like learning the hand movements from watching other enemies, but I don't know. Also with the recent demise of Sean Connery, it just feels a bit crass.
Yeah. Well, at the time we didn't know.
That's a good point. It feels like a cash in now, doesn't it?
This is very much a pre-Connery death pitch.
Yeah. Yeah, correct.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, it was. Now this next episode.
That's not one.
Yeah, we had a lot of pre-event episodes. Now this one is called "Go Outside." It's great outside. There's no coronavirus here. No, it's not. It's called Bib, Boys in Black. I think that translated to. And this was an Alex pitch. And I'll be honest, I cannot remember this game.
I can.
Right.
This is when we introduced XCOM a lot.
Yeah.
I of course it was. Yeah, I thought this was. I really liked this one.
It was your idea.
I think this one was fantastic. Basically, you just play. It's set in I think it was 1950s or like maybe no, it was post-war America, basically post-Second World War, and you play at the very beginning of the creation of the Men in Black. And all this this secret government agency, basically, when you first discovered the aliens and these other, not just aliens, but lots of other kinds of weird creatures exist. And it's like imagine something like L.A. Noire, but you have the entire kind of American landscape. Like it's like you're driving from town to town. It's almost like a road movie style thing. You're going from town to town. You're investigating, like you're looking at local newspapers and you're being like, oh, the crop circles have been here. Let's go and investigate this. This is our next mission to do. And you have to go to this town and speak to local people, get information on what kind of creature it might be.
I remember it being kind of black. I remember it being kind of Disco Elysium-y as well, and that there were multiple stages to each investigation where there was discovery, containment, and then cover-up.
Yes. Yeah. The cover-up being that you have to find out ways, so whether that just comes down to like wiping the memories of people who were involved in it, or whether it's paying certain people off, or
framing someone, and
but it's a 3-stage thing where basically each mission involves that. You go to a town, you find out what it is, you contain it, and then you cover it up. And there's just some kind of wider story, I guess, that connects the whole thing.
This does sound quite similar to the XCOM spin-off, The Bureau.
I think we mentioned that several times in the episode.
Which is a 1960s set third-person shooter spin-off.
No, this is 50s. So
this is...
No,
L.A. Noire. Very different time. And clearly part of the Men in Black universe. Before they were men, they were boys.
Yeah. So that's why it was Boys in Black.
Perhaps it would be, So anyone with me on this?
I like it. I think if it was like a very heavily text-based RPG, like Disco Elysium, I think talking to particular people, choosing when to actually, or maybe getting to the monster or the mystery early means the cover-up is easier. Maybe it gets to a point where you can't contain it, so there's no cover-up, and it's like, well, fuck.
Yeah.
And the game ends when aliens or this mystery becomes fact. I think that was the idea.
That was it. Yeah, when people are aware of the existence
when people
of
believe it now.
The local general public. Yeah.
And I think there's a cool story in there. I think it's just I think we've got a story. We've got a kind of a story, but it's just figuring out what the game actually is. Let's just call it Disco Elysium.
Essentially, L.A. Noire X-Files
in black. Yeah. Okay. So I can understand if this isn't gonna get very far, because I still feel like Don't Die Nasty Warriors is the most game, right, out of most of the ones we've discussed so far.
Yes.
There isn't a huge amount of gameplay to be discussed in this. So
I disagree wholeheartedly, but sure.
I'm with you. I would happily choose this. I just don't think anyone else is
going
to.
I'm saying Dungeon Daddy's still my best.
Really?
Wow. I don't know. I like Bib. You're right. There isn't as much like in terms of like a game podcast to like grip onto. It's more the story. But I mean, I love the X-Files, and being able to be like 1950s Men in Black, Boys in Black sounds great. I want to play that game. So maybe I vote
All
for this
Well,
one. Yes,
all right, so that's 2.
my vote. My vote.
Is anyone else gonna tip the scales, or
I don't think it. I just don't think it does. Yeah.
silence?
I like the setting, but
I'm
I just
happy with
don't.
that.
I can't really see it enough.
Okay.
Okay,
Well,
that's fine. I can go with that.
Look, if you're looking for gameplay, then look no further than Mark Humes' addition to the podcast in Terminal 1, the tutorial. Now, this was imagine everything.
Every action film.
Every action film ever made that we turn it into a game. You are an engineer in an airport who's trying to who doesn't fight, doesn't really know how to use a gun, can't really do any, hand-to-hand combat or anything like that. But you know what you can do? You can craft like a motherfucker. You can build traps. You can build very complicated traps using just things that you scavenge from around the airport, I think, is what it ends up being.
Because the terrorists have taken over the airport.
The terrorists have taken over the airport.
You have 24 hours because you have cancer, and that's why it's called terminal, because
Yeah.
you're also terminally ill, and it's in an airport.
And I think
It doesn't have to be cancer. It can just be a non-specific terminal.
Okay, you have a non-specific terminal illness.
You're going to die in the next 24 hours. Yeah.
Alternate titles. I'm not going to say because everyone gets angry at me because of how
What?
bad that pun was.
Gatwick.
Gatwick. You play as John Wick's brother
Gatwick.
in the airport.
In Gatwick,
See,
I imagine.
that's how well that joke went down.
Yeah.
So it's Home Alone
okay.
in an airport.
Home Alone, Die Hard, right? That was the kind of the vibe of it.
It's weird because you
I
said
mean-
this was every action film ever, but it sounds specifically like Die Hard 2.
Well, no. Also,
In fact,
I
I'd
guess
say it
it's-
sounds like Die Hard 2 and no other action films.
no, it's also
Yes.
It's
There
also
are other action films.
it's also that one where he's his heart has been. What is it? It's
Crank.
Oh, with
Crank.
Jason Statham.
Crank.
Yeah, Crank.
It was
yeah.
also Crank and also Home Alone, that famous action movie.
It's
And a bit of
Crank.
Dead Rising.
Jason Statham just went on a crafting rampage. Because nothing gets your pulse racing like
Running through a
crafting.
hobby craft.
Heavily Dead Rising influenced.
All right, so what I'm hearing is this one is not for you, Matt.
I don't mind it. It's a bit. Nah, let's say no.
No.
Okay, now the reason
me.
it's called
I mean,
the tutorial, by the way, was because there was just too much to add into it. So this was Terminal 1. The next one, Terminal 2, would have been Terminal 2 Level 1.
Yeah.
Well, you'd have to
he
play
had
as
a
his
whole
son
series planned
because
out,
you
yeah.
die anyway, right? Or do you have to get the antidote? I don't know.
I don't
remember.
know. I don't fucking know. It was
Who
everything.
fucking well, okay, so from this, from Terminal, then we go on to we have another guest one, right?
Yeah, this is Chris Trott of Hat Films and High Rollers fame. He pitched Mythbusters, not that one, which was basically a slightly different take on Bib, or Boys in Black. Sorry, however, he hadn't listened to the episode Boys in Black.
But you were wizards, basically. It was kind of like a Harry Potter-y universe. It was like connecting all the different fantasy
It was-
worlds,
yeah.
right?
You
a little
hunt
bit
down
like
mythical
Eldritch Horror.
creatures.
Where you had to stop people from writing books because the books were coming true, becoming reality. And
that was it.
so like Lovecraft wrote a book, and all of a sudden Cthulhu is starting to invade the world, and you have to try and stop that from happening. So you enter the minds of authors, trying to stop them from writing about things too dangerous, so guiding them through their own dreams and their own thought palaces to stop them from writing stories that would end up destroying the world.
But you have to like fight Cthulhu and Medusa and
Yeah.
This is
So
this
it was
is
a
like
bit-
where I was like, I have to play XCOM because, again, it was like you've got a world map and you can see on the map where the different
course,
portals
yeah.
and there was an
are.
overarching
I can't remember
like
what.
Avatar project.
and all that. And I was like, okay.
There was like X amount of days until the breach happens and all these
Yeah.
creatures come through.
The publishing, it should have been called, because that's when all their books came out.
I think there's something sinister about a game where your end goal is basically to crush people's creativity.
Censorship, the game.
You basically go into the heads of history's most famous authors, ruin their creative process, and make them produce really inert fiction.
However, it's what you need to do to save the
there's
world.
something almost propaganda-y about it.
But is that the world you want to live in?
Yeah, I never thought of it like that.
I don't know. I would see it more from that perspective. I don't know. I don't know if... It's not their fault that their creations are going to come to life.
No,
that's
that's true. However, it is their fault that these creations exist in the world because they came up with them.
Yeah, but
They don't realise that. They're just being creative.
But there was a faction of people who knew about it and started writing some really, really twisted shit. I remember that.
Okay.
Oh yeah, maybe those
So they
guys
knew
need
they would
to
come
stop.
to life.
Is that better?
Yeah.
yeah, but it's not.
Is
It's
that
not
one
quite
enough
as.
for you?
It's not quite as fun, is it? I don't know. It's difficult getting the balance of like fun and ethics in this particular one.
Okay.
I can understand. I don't think I'm going to be necessarily on board with any game that encourages the destruction of books and creativity.
All right.
Maybe
well,
that's
okay. I think that's a guaranteed. We've still got a leader in this one. So let's go on to carry on the theme of ethics and go with your very own Matt Castle. I love you, the kidnapper.
so. Maybe Matt, you should describe this one to the listeners.
Yeah, this one's slightly confusing because the title hint reveals a twist at the end.
You know what? I mentioned this once. Is that I come up with these cool these titles sometimes, and they're already spoiled by the title of the podcast. So there's no reveal or like.
No, the idea is that you want to know how the fuck we got to that point.
Yeah, that's true.
So this is about a very aging hitman. And because he's aging and his body's failing him and his mind's failing him, instead of leveling up, he's leveling down.
Oh yeah,
and he's like losing powers. So the difficulty curve comes from dealing with an ever more decrepit hero. But in the story, he is hunting down a kidnapper who has kidnapped his son. And there is a mechanic throughout the game where you can choose to remember parts of your family life or maintain your kind of grip on your physical abilities. And the idea is that most people would keep hold of their physical abilities, and it's not until they get right at the end that they realize they no longer have the memories required to identify their son from the kidnapper. And one potential outcome of this is that you can end up killing your son and living with the kidnapper who you think is your son, and which you then utter the immortal line, "I love you, the kidnapper."
I love the fact the person who kidnapped your son plays along with it.
That wasn't the line. It was "I love you, son," and then the kidnapper says, "I think
he
you
says
mean
that's right. Don't you mean "I love you, the kidnapper"? That's it.
Okay,
Sorry.
I know that you have a personal attachment to this, but I have to agree that it's better.
Yeah. Just for the twist. I love a twist.
Yeah. But even the gameplay is interesting because you choose between being able to either solve something in the world through memory or maintaining, a skill. It's but just the fucking end is great.
The thing is, if you win the game and you do save your son, you never have the "I love you, the kidnapper," and the name makes no sense whatsoever.
Well, that's fine. It's like Train Spotting, right?
Because you say "I love you, son," and he says, "Yes, I am your son. Thank you for your love." And that's the alternate name of the game, maybe.
That's the subtitled name.
What a warm
perhaps,
relationship they have. Thank you for your love.
This has to be the best one because it's so far it has a lot of things. It has the things that most of the games don't have both of, which is good gameplay and a good story, right?
Yeah.
I've never seen a reverse skill
beats-
tree, so I think that sounds great.
Yeah.
Well, there is I think we mentioned this in the episode. There is a Souls-like game, boss rush kind of game, where every boss you beat, you lose an ability. So later bosses are harder because of it. So I think that's what we mentioned in the episode. It's
taking that and then doing something, it's doing something narratively interesting with it as well, I think.
Yeah.
And it's as much as I like the idea of the management sim in the human body, which has lasted a long time, I should add, actually. We've gone through many episodes.
Yeah,
I think this has to win out. Like,
I feel like I should step aside and I shouldn't really have any input.
Oh,
here.
no,
I am
have to say
fond
yes.
of this idea. If anything, playing Cyberpunk recently, where actually I had the same problem with the power curve, where I had so many upgrades in so many different areas, I just felt completely generic by the end of it, and it reminded me, yes, I Love You, the Kidnapper. That game where you are reduced to a really singular hero. That's a good idea.
I think
the new champion.
I don't think we should go into this as a new champion just because it's hilarious, but because
it had some genuinely good mechanics.
I think it's genuinely a cool mechanic in there of just getting weaker and weaker as time goes on.
Right.
All right. What's next?
Up next is Spiffing Brits, Eddie Stobart's Global Domination. You like simulator games?
This was nuts.
Well, here you go. Have all of them combined.
So this was open TTD, like business management, like on a global scale, and you also have a bit of Euro Truck Sim in there. You can start a corporation or you can start as a worker. If you start a corporation, you hire workers on who are real people who do real like routes and deliveries, and you try and build a global empire.
You can then zoom in on that trucker who's playing truck sim, driving that. Maybe you need stuff transported by train. There's people playing train sim.
It's kind of like an everything sim.
Yeah.
I almost feel like this one should be disqualified because it's clearly never going to exist and like could never. Like the idea of it's just too big. It's like just saying, how about every game ever?
No, none of these games are ever going to exist. No one's going to fucking make any of these. Are you kidding?
Yeah, but
like,
some of them might actually like be able to be made. Like I Love You, the Kidnapper
I think
could
it's
be
just
a
an
game.
idea of what's a cool game.
I pretty much glossed over the whole premise. It's build a company or be a worker in a company until you can make up enough money to make your own company and hire people.
However,
they're real people doing real deliveries and stuff.
However, wherever the game is sold is also localized specifically to that area. So if you're playing in Britain, there's people playing in America right now, and eventually there'll be an expansion pack that unlocks all of the world so that people from America can trade with Britain, and then or Britain with Australia or whatever. And then there's another expansion pack where for some reason you go to Mars.
It was you went into the future, and then now it was like Interstellar.
Oh yeah, and then there was the politics upgrade expansion where people could then decide the prices of all of these items, and then there'd be an entire subset of company. It sounds really boring, but it was a spreadsheet simulator, basically.
Yeah. So let's just say it's not better than I Love You, the Kidnapper, and move on.
Sure.
I think that's fair.
Up next is the Foley of Man, which was remember the game The Movies, I think it was called? Yeah. It was that, but you are a Foley artist who is given a load of different films and scenes with no sound at all, or maybe there's just dialogue or whatever, but just a very basic scene, no sound added to it. And you are in your Foley studio making sounds for the game. So you just pick up an apple, throw it against the wall. Wow, that sounds great. But then put that in the scene, or record your own. And it's just a game where you can make the Foley sounds for a ton of different scenes. There's games like this that already exist where you just do the voiceovers, or maybe act in the scenes with a Kinect webcam or whatever. Yeah. But this is one where you just are a Foley artist, and you just play as a Foley artist.
We were
making
split,
sounds for scenes.
We were split on whether it's like VR and you've got the tools and you do the actions, or if you only have the mic and you do it all with your voice.
I think my initial pitch was, you've just got your microphone playing it on a PC, and you just pick up stuff from around your actual room to make all these sounds, and just try and. There was also a party mode where if you play this at a party, then certain people are like, oh, I've got to do this, I've got to do these noises. And people just make the noises with like their mouth or whatever. And it could be a fun game where you listen back to this scene and it's just this cacophony of awful noises. But you can pinpoint, hang on, wait for the time when this dude makes an incredible fart noise.
We wanted to
basically like the idea of
like a leaderboard almost, with like you could upload your clip and then people would vote on which like clips they like the most, and then you'd be like, they did the best.
Yeah, and I imagine that some people could do it really seriously. That would be awesome. Foley artist the game. That's basically what the Foley of Man was.
How does that sit with you, Matt?
I quite like the idea of entering that world, and particularly I'm more interested in the making the sounds in the game rather than recording sounds outside the game, because then it just becomes a weird bit of audio software.
I think that's what Chris said, actually. It's just a audio software. engine.
But not if it's in game and it's. But you'd have to have like amazing audio simulation to mimic all the sounds.
That was the other problem.
Because otherwise, it's just you're just playing the preset Apple on Walls sound that they've recorded for the game. So everyone's scenes will just sound the same. Everyone will be like, "Oh, it's that Apple sound effect that we've all got."
That's true.
But if it was all like physics enabled and the sound came out was genuine, I'd probably be into this.
There was also
is it better?
There was also a third game mode, just to quickly jump in there. There was a third game mode where it was like SingStar or Just Dance or Twitch Sings or whatever, where you have one take to record the entire thing.
Yeah, you do
see
it
the
live.
sounds coming up and you have to really quickly do all the sounds and then see what you come up with at the end. And that's what the party mode kind of thing came from, I think.
Yeah.
So yeah, Foley of Man versus currently I Love You, the Kidnapper.
I think Foley's great, but I don't think it beats...
I don't think it's Kidnapper.
Yeah.
It's got to be
Yeah,
Kidnapper.
I have to agree.
You have to.
You have to agree.
I remember this episode specifically because Daft put out a tweet saying, "This is our worst episode." And I was like, what? How could you say that?
I didn't hate it. I liked it. But,
I thought it was a good idea.
Yeah.
Well, that's because he hadn't heard the next episode.
What a burn.
Tom's favourite.
The next episode was from Grace Bruxner, the creator of Frog Detective, who pitched Murder You Wrote. Have you ever played Episodes, the app? That's the end of the pitch.
So the game, like Tom hated this because his pet hate, which I think began with
Ravs' episode
idea, which is basically having a game and then just reskinning it a bit. Which is essentially what she's done here. Not to say I don't like it, but so Episodes, Matt, if you're not aware of it, or anyone listening, it's just an app where you it's kind of like there are little romance stories basically. It's choices, like little branches.
You've definitely seen an ad for it.
You can, the hook of it is that you can make your own. So you can make them completely bizarre and weird. You can have like lots of different, just weird things and characters happen, and just like some people just make them all about just like awkward social interactions and things, and just stupid dialogue, and and some people just can make a living from just like selling their episode stories.
Oh, right.
It's that big. I didn't realize before she described it to us, but it's absolutely huge. And so her idea was that, but instead of kind of romantic stories, it's sexy murders.
Murders, but they're sexy.
Murder, She Wrote. Yeah. Not sexy murders, but it's murders, but with sexy people.
Because all the people in episodes are attractive. That's the thing, right? So all the characters, they always look attractive. Because I think that's the only models you can choose. So they have to be sexy murders.
Kind of, that's how I'm imagining it.
Yeah.
That kind of, very, very, very well drawn, lovely looking people. Now,
we wanted to make as much money as possible from the players. So we had, wasn't it like coins based on crime coins or something?
Coins. Yeah.
It was very much how much money can we make from players?
I mean, this game basically already exists, but it's reskinned, right? I don't think any of us are going to actually. I didn't dislike it.
It was Episodes, but with murder. The next one is...
okay, fair enough.
It's not going to win, and I refuse to let it win. Alchemy the Harmacist was the next one. Alchemy the Harmacist. Now, this came out a week before Potionomics was revealed at the Xbox show, whatever it was.
Yeah, we didn't know this Potionomics existed.
It was very, very, very similar. Now, Alchemy the Harmacist was a game where you run a potion shop in, again, quite a Papers, Please style, where people come to you with their I need a love potion, I think is what we kept saying in this one, or I need a potion that will make me stronger because I'm about to do a fight. And you can say, I'll give you this potion, and like this strength potion, you give it to a knight, and then later on this other guy comes in and he's like, I've got to fight against this guy later, I think he's managed to get this potion. And you kind of listen to their stories and you listen to their dialogues and who they are and what they're going to do with these potions through the different people that come into the shop and just talk to you, and you kind of decide how the stories progress. Like, do I make this potion? Awesome, great, sure, I do. And that progresses the story for this one particular person. But maybe then, like if you have two people come in and they've got these conflicting arguments, you kind of pick a side. Or maybe you make a dud potion for one guy and a great potion for another person, so you can guarantee how their story progresses. And Eventually, the king recruits you and forces you to make loads of potions for their army, or make loads of ailments or whatever to
You
make
also
sure
have to
their
order
army
in
succeeds.
ingredients as well, right?
Yeah, you have to make choices.
And it was a
on
cooking
who you're
mama
gonna
style
make stuff for.
potion making thing as well.
And
Yeah.
because a lot of them cause bad things to happen to people, you're a pharmacist. That was the
Called
pun.
alchemy.
And then we needed a name, and you're an alchemist, so he was called Alchemy.
That sounded like a grunt of pain from Matt there. The name.
That's how you know it's a good pun.
Yeah.
All right, moving on.
Is this one not? Is this one not
Is this
sitting
one
with
not-
you?
Yeah, I just can't really. I just can't really envision it. But I know this is all going to sound really self-serving, because at every game I'm like, nah. It's like, oh, he just wants frickin' Kidnapper to win, and that's not true. Like, I want there to be a better game than I Love You the Kidnapper, but I don't think this is it.
I like this, but it's not. Yeah, I agree.
Come
It's
on.
not I Love You the
Come on.
Kidnapper. Is anyone going to disagree?
No.
Oh no,
I don't think
I
so.
agree.
Do you want me to skip
All
ahead
right.
just to the next one that I think might actually be a contender? We'll be skipping a few episodes if I do this.
What's the next? Oh, I think I know which the next one is. Yeah. Okay, do it.
Okay, so Outer Isles was an Alex pitch. I enjoyed it. I think it ended up being the Robinson Crusoe board game. It was kind of cool. William Pugh pitched a game called the Tom Hanks Simulator. I'm not even going to begin to try and recap that one. That was
Just listen to it if you're
Just
vaguely interested.
listen
It's
to
great.
it.
was
if you want to listen to a 1
insane.
hour long fever dream, listen to that. Up next, okay, this is a contender, I think. This is Simon Clarke's Eye of the Storm. Dr. Simon Clarke's Eye of the Storm, sorry. Now, this one was a battle royale game where you are driving in a kind of Mad Max-esque desert racing thing with these weird, like, meshed together rigs. Like, you know, made up of like barbed wire and spikes and all of these things, very Mad Max style.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the idea of the game is that you're running away from this dust storm, this dust cloud that is slowly closing around you, kind of like a battle royale game. And you've got guns on your vehicles. You can shoot the other opponents. If they fall into the storm, they're eliminated. You want to get as far ahead as you can so you're not far away from the dust storm behind you. You don't want to get too far ahead because that'll make you the target of everybody else. If you stay back and close to the storm, you can pick up scrap, which you can use to maybe upgrade your vehicle or maybe just repair your vehicle. There's loads of different types of vehicles that you can play as. Bike is one of them. Chris, bike is one of them. Or you can play on a 4-person big rig, and it's kind of like Guns of Icarus style, or that VR game that I never played, where you've got some people on the guns, some people on one person in the driving seat, one person repairing or whatever. So you can go into it as a squad, or you can go against the solo players who are on, you know, single person vehicles. Which I think was a very important thing that I wanted to push for, because sometimes you can't find a squad of people to play these games. So you want to just play on your own.
There was a very heated argument.
There was a very heated argument about how bikes work.
But that doesn't
whatever.
change.
It doesn't change the idea of the game. As the dust cloud closes, it's like this tornado of dust around you. You can see, the way you know how many people have been eliminated is by seeing them swirling around in this mist in the distance. And I thought that was really fucking cool. And you just want to be the last man standing in a battle royale style to be the last racer in a Mad Max desert wasteland destruction derby, all chaos all the time.
I'm just going to say it. I think this is better.
Yeah, I have to
I'm sorry,
agree.
I think this-
I've been
I will
waiting
play
for us
this.
to come to this, because this, you know, I love this game so much. I don't play battle royales, but I will play this. I will play the shit out of this game. I want it.
It just sounds so just crazy. I don't know, like Matt, like okay, of course you're biased.
Whoa! I'm a professional critic. I can raise above such things. It's fine. I do like the pitch of the storm. I like that there's a bit more thought in the kind of chasing wall thing, which is a fun way of evolving the battle royale. I'm not sure the actual like dynamic of it is that different from other battle royale games, though. Is it?
Well, it's true. There's a kind of like a Twisted Metal style gameplay there, where you're just driving around. Like, I mean, it can't be that different from a battle royale, right? Because battle royales are basically all just the same. It's just X amount of people come in and one.
Yeah, but just the idea that like, there's drama closer to the storm because there's stuff, rarer stuff you can collect or whatever. I've seen, that's not that unusual. And
I feel like the word battle royale might be doing this a disservice. I feel it's a destruction derby because that's essentially like the same thing, but moving constantly.
What's Elimination Race is another one as well, where if you're in last place at the end of this race, you're eliminated. If you're in last place at the end of this lap, then you're eliminated. I think that is another way of looking at it. It's more a racing game than a battle royale game, where if you're too slow, you're eliminated. Like Micro Machines is that sort of thing as well, but not quite. If you're too slow, you get eliminated, and you want to be the last man standing.
Just going like hyper speed. I've been playing a lot of Burnout Paradise again recently. And the races on that are so much fun. Just like the idea of being able to, like, just watching collisions, just watching cars be destroyed at very high speeds is just really fun. For me,
it does feel to me like someone, specifically Dr. Simon Clark, watched the recent Mad Max and went, "I like that scene where there's the sandstorm," and that's fair enough. It's a good scene. But like, will it stick a dagger in your ribs when you find out that your boy is in fact a kidnapper? That's what I put to you.
Okay, all right. What about this? Because personally, I also love this game. Don't get me wrong. I love You the Kidnapper. I love it. Right. But now, would you be annoyed if we did vote and said
no, not at all? Like it's like. If anything, I've got a better pitch later on coming up.
That's true. You've got a chance to take the top spot yet again.
I didn't want to see my two babies battling it out.
That's true. You need a buffer.
Don't make me choose.
Well, I vote Eye of the Storm. I love it.
I'm Eye of the Storm.
I'm Eye of the Storm.
James, I feel like you were Eye of the Storm, right?
Yeah, 100%.
So that's basically Chris. I mean, what
it doesn't it doesn't matter.
It doesn't even matter, actually, but just out of interest.
Honestly, very contested. Because I really do enjoy the mechanics of I Love You the Kidnapper, and I quite like the ideas that were put forward in Eye of the Storm. So, I mean...
Either or.
I'm going to abstain, but it doesn't matter.
Okay, well, Eye of the Storm is now the current champion. Tom, I agree with you. I think we should... Maybe you could just very quickly do a couple of just like one sentence basic ideas until you stop on one that you think is a contender.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so the next one was Hitman the Masquerade, which is a pitch that my brother sent in, which was, I can't remember. I remember that Chris fucking hated it.
Right?
Also,
I think insulted your brother.
I think it started as a really good pitch, and I remember when we got to the end of the episode, I was like, I don't understand why Chris didn't like that. I then got a message off my brother that said, "What the fuck did you do to my game?" So we messed up somewhere along the line there. Hyrian Flax, in the next episode, he pitched an episode that was it was called Definitely Not Heat of the Moment, which is I don't know how that relates to what this was.
For a time,
but this was a mafia management game where you send your goons out to different places, but the combat was the main thing, where it was done in such a way where it was almost pause combat, where you just give everyone an action for what they're going to do for the next turn, where you say, right, this guy's going to swing for a punch, this guy's going to grab the chair, this guy's going to try and smash this bottle over this dude's head, very much in like a bar brawl fashion. But and then you press play and you see, how does that turn play out? Maybe the guy swings, but the guy he's swinging for ducks, so you accidentally punch your teammate, or something like that.
It sounds like the John Wick game.
It sounds like that. I think it was very...
You're just queuing up moves.
It was very related to that.
But there was the management sim side of it as well.
There was
also one where characters had traits. So if the character saw someone, they would automatically attack rather than... So you couldn't give them a hesitate command. They would just be like a bloodlust for...
I think it was a cool game.
Next?
However, I don't think it's necessarily a contender. Feng Shui Ai was an Alex pitch, which was a Tetris.
Feng Shui Ai was great.
Was it? Okay, in that case, Alex, go for it, because I don't really remember this one, I'll be honest.
It was basically like, have you ever played Islanders? If anyone's played Islanders, basically it's just you start off with an island and you have little packs of things that you have to build. You can build buildings and you get adjacency bonuses. So if you put a wheat field next to a distillery or something, you get points for it. And then once you've filled up the island as much as you can, you move on to the next island, and it's just a very chill, relaxing game. It's basically that, but for tiny houses. You're building tiny houses
and interiors, and then at the end,
interiors.
The end from the feng shui I came about because we were talking about feng shui, and the way feng shui works is it's about flow. So I was saying at the end, you run a water simulation, but you don't see it through it, and then you get graded on how good your flow is in the room as well. It's very casual. Okay. Non-exciting, just sit back and relax.
I think this is quite a
I
chill,
think there was also
game.
an idea you were designing for clients as well, and they had particular tags, and every piece of furniture had a tag assigned to it, like, oh, this is, very foresty, or this one's quite open and clean and minimal or whatever. And you have to try and adhere to their design brief-ish while building your tiny interior. So you don't have a huge amount of space to put things in. You're trying to build the best you can while keeping the flow of the place built as well.
I like this, but I think if you were to present to a focus testing group, you have a choice of 2 games. One is a twisted metal race of destruction against the sandstorm, and the other one is about placing sofas. I think you'd probably be more into I think you'd find more takers for the sandstorm.
Yeah, I think that's a very good. I'm happy to concede that one.
Okay.
What's next?
Up next is Sips's famous Dude Sim Alaska, which...
I mean, can we do this?
Can we do this? I don't think we'll go too deep into this because if we throw it out, people are going to get angry. If it wins, people will expect it. Let's pretend it never happened. It was a awesome survival game where you're a dad who just decides, I'm going to go live in Alaska.
Are you actually a dad, or are you a giant crystal?
No, you are a dad. You are actually a dad.
Okay, that's good. That's already got bonus points from me.
You're not just a dad. Yeah. You can be male or female, but you're a dude, because being a dude is a way of life. It's not.
That's what it was.
It's not based on gender.
Yeah. But yeah, if you want to spend the entire time chainsawing down trees and building a road, fuck it, go ahead. Why not?
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of similar to William Pugh's. It's an hour of Sips talking about what his ideal game would be.
His ideal survival game. It was just it was every survival game combined into one. It ended up kind of being a kind of makeable game, surprisingly. But however, it's a little bit every survival game, which doesn't really work. The next one. We spoke about tiny teams a lot, but then we pitched Dot Execution, which actually ended up being a lot. I think it turned out a lot better than I expected it to. It was a game where you. Oh fuck! I've forgotten actually.
Sounds great, mate.
It was a game where you go through Google Maps to solve crimes.
Oh, that was it. Yeah,
it was
Google
a world.
Maps one.
It was a world in which Google Maps was updated, I think, hourly. And you had to navigate through these interiors of different buildings. You can scrub through the different times, and you have to try and solve the mystery and solve the crime going through Google Maps and navigating the world like that.
Google Map Brain Dance from Cyberpunk.
Yeah, now the Brain Dance is actually a thing in Cyberpunk. I think that's what Dot Execution was. We were there first.
Clearly. Well, what day was that podcast? Months.
That was August 16th. So just a few months after their first,
That's why they delayed it, because they heard the podcast and were like, we need to have that feature.
Yeah, we need to have that feature and then use it only twice in the entire game.
That the bugs are in there.
So that was Dot Execution. Any immediate thoughts on that? No? All right, moving on. Carry On My Wayward Son. Carry On My Wayward Son was another Hitman game. I tried to take another Hitman. That was a bad idea. Chris hated it. Help, I'm trapped in a house. Was another game
was this
in which
another
it was...
one of yours? Was this the Fallout thing?
This was another one of mine.
No, Fall Guys?
No, that was not at Fall Guys just yet. I feel like this was the episode where we just talked about reality shows for like an hour, and I couldn't remember the name.
I don't think that ended up being a game.
Not really, no.
No, I don't think
is this a game title or just a cry for help that you hid in the podcast name?
No, I didn't remember this one either.
This was a good few months into the whole COVID situation.
It's weird that I'm remembering the older episodes more than the relatively recent episodes, but
that's when we had, life and joy still.
Yeah. We had Spunk and Moxie, like I keep bringing up. Right. Totally Accurate War Commanders was a pitch from Shane, a listener, that was you're commanding a war from a distance in a tent a couple miles away or whatever. You're receiving reports on a radio, And I think it's just listening to how the reports are coming in, and you're trying to update your map to say, okay, cool, I think my commanders are in this area. If they say it was successful that they pushed forward through this area, then perfect. This is where they are on the map. So then you give them further commands, and you're trying to navigate this map using just radio commands and listening to their update on the mission progress.
Do you remember that TV show that was on?
Yeah, it's why it was called Totally Accurate War Commanders. Because it was basically that game.
Your view of the game, you only ever see this board, right, with all the pieces moving around on it and moving the pieces.
Sounds fun.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Is it better than?
Or was that?
Yeah, that was sarcasm. At the idea of the game, we have to look at a map, just a map, and imagine.
All right, fine. Let's carry on to the next.
I didn't dislike it, but it's not either Storm, right?
Here's the next one, the big one. You've all been waiting for it.
Yeah.
It's time.
Yeah.
Matt Castle, back again with the what was it? The troubling second album.
Difficult second album.
I don't think it's troubling.
Oh yeah, the difficult second album. That's what it was. It's not me. It's the gun.
You're a man.
Yep.
You get an experimental gun stuck on your arm that constantly shoots, and that in itself is bad news. But what's really bad news is you have a series of quite mundane domestic tasks, but that are essential to your future happiness to achieve on this day, such as attending a child's birthday party and going to a divorce hearing in the courts. But you also have this gun that constantly shoots. The game is framed as the court case that follows all this action.
Yeah, so Exhibit A is level 1.
In which you make the case, in which your performance in each level decides how the case works out. The title, of course, comes from the fact that you try and reason with the police that it's not you, it's the gun. It's not me, it's the gun that's causing all the damage. So it's kind of it could be quite a serious drama.
Yeah, I think it
could
is.
also be quite a madcap, zany adventure.
It
really kind of depends.
It's very
how
serious,
your day unfolds.
but remember, there's also a stenographer that you cut to every now and then in the courtroom, who is very flustered, having to type bang, 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 bang on repeat.
Yeah, because the gun is still functioning during the court case.
They couldn't remove it.
This is important.
Yeah.
Mechanically, I can't really remember how this game manifests, but
Was it Octodad?
I think it was
but like,
kind of
it's like a first person or third person. I think it's a third person thing.
Yeah.
Oh yes, because you need to see your body panicking.
I think we also touched on it being a VR game as well at one point.
I think we scrapped that.
Yeah. We couldn't quite figure out how it would be played, but the plot is there. And of course, to get the secret level at the end, you have to not be arrested for your court case, let out into freedom again, so that you can find the scientist that did this to you and get your gun arm removed.
Get revenge, yeah. That's the ending.
That was it.
That's the true ending.
Okay. I got to be honest, I really like the idea. I think it's very fun.
Oh no, there's a big butt coming up.
I don't feel like there's that much game there. Like, I don't feel like it's not like I Love You the Kidnapper, right? That felt like a really solid, and the same with Eye of the Storm. I know what that game is. I don't think I know what this game is.
It's a reluctant shooter.
Yeah. Have you played one of those before?
First-person shooter where you're like, I don't want to be shooting right now.
Oh my God.
It's the anti-shooter. It turns everything you know about shooting games on its head.
I will say very quickly that for the Game Jam, the Yogscast Game Jam, there was a game that was made. I was telling you about this before the episode, but it was a game that was made called Pong.exe. If you have access to the itch.io page to play it, because it turns into a couple of Pitch Please games, one of which is Eye of the Storm. The next one, it does turn into It's Not Me, It's the Gun, or a version of it where you have to collect a load of items from around the house. The gun is constantly firing, and the amount of times I accidentally shot a coffee cup when I was trying to pick it up.
Coffee cups, they knew.
It was a lot of fun.
It was surprisingly fun trying to do these very mundane things.
Surprisingly fun. The fun's built in. It's there at the heart of the game. This is a fun game. I guess there's like a more immediate pleasure to Eye of the Storm. What about Eye of the Storm is framed as a court case, and you are talking about all the people you ran off the road. And
hang on. I feel like
It's not me, it's the eye of the storm.
Because your initial worry was, oh God, I'm going to have to do I Love You the Kidnapper versus It's Not Me, It's the Gun. But now you're worried because your final shot into the Pitch Please world isn't winning against
Hall of Fame.
Eye of the Storm.
I mean,
you're
listen,
panicking.
I would much rather play both games from Castle Studios than Eye of the Storm.
I will vote. How about this? I'll vote for It's Not Me, It's the Gun if you say that Dungeon Daddy was a good game.
How much is it to sell out?
I can't actually do it. I would rather It's Not Me, It's the Gun was destroyed than I have to debase myself and get behind the concept of a big crystal that is meant to be this awesome character. I'm sorry, no. I would rather torpedo my own studio than give you that.
He's just had to lay off tens of people, Tom.
Holy shit.
Okay,
I appreciate you standing up for what you believe in, Matt.
Wait, hang on. Let me just get this
No,
straight.
Tom. No.
Is there nothing about that game,
done.
Dungeon Daddy?
It's done.
Oh, I can't believe it.
We're trying to get through these, Tom.
Okay,
Wow.
I just want to quickly say thank you. It was Indie Nick who made that game, and Indie Nick, I think, is the same person who's been making, whenever we said someone's made a prototype of a game on this show,
It's Indie Nick.
It's them. It's Indie Nick. Yeah. So thank you very much, Indie Nick, for doing that. And sorry that you didn't place in the game jam. But it was still a great game.
So I am going to say,
are we saying Eye of the Storm is still the winner? Yeah.
So I never voted for Eye of the Storm. I abstained from that vote. I think I Love You the Kidnapper is better than this one. But
But that's not the.
That's not.
I know
how
what I'm
this
saying.
works.
So I think I think Eye of the Storm might clinch this. But
Yeah.
from my past voting, know that I Love You the Kidnapper beats this.
James.
Eye of the Storm for me still. I love this game and I love You the Kidnapper, but for me, Eye of the Storm, I think it's just got, I don't know, it's just better, isn't it? For me. Sorry.
Yeah.
And Tom, are you Eye of the Storm? Or?
In an act of corporate espionage, I will shut down Castle Studios for the things they said about my game.
Well, there we go. It doesn't matter what my opinion is. We have a continued winner.
Yeah.
What's next?
Next up was Fool Guys.
Sorry, Matt.
Which
That's fine. I can't believe I gave you my afternoon to do this podcast. This was not the outcome I predicted or assumed from our chat.
I mean,
was like, oh yeah, sure.
John Quick went
Did you
super
think this was
early.
an award
Nobody
ceremony?
knows what's going on.
Yeah, I thought I'd turn up, get crowned. That'd be a nice afternoon. Oh no.
all right, let's rush through the rest of them because these are questionable.
Matt's
These
about
ones.
to leave.
Because Matt's about to leave. Fool Guys, you are superpowered rats trying to, in a Fall Guys setting, trying to run through the maps. The idea was you are the one cheater in the map who can run super fast or can jump super high. You're playing a game of Fall Guys, and in a traitor deception style way, you have to try and win the map while not giving away that you are the cheater and being voted out, and the innocents win. I kind of liked it. Everyone fucking hated it. Moving on.
True.
Hugo
This one
was
was
a
interesting.
taxi sim that was pitched by Hugo Troito, who's a listener. Taxi simulator game. That's basically the crux of it. Because Alex said no, there isn't a taxi simulator game out there. Turns out there is. Moving on.
It's quite a lot.
Plague Book was CK3, but you're making a social network to try and take over the world with your social network platform. That eventually extends into introducing questionable features into your network, like data.
It was very heavily influenced by Plague Inc. So you, instead of genetically evolving your disease, you're like, okay, add the like button. Okay, add the ability to share, add marketplace. And then you're instead of infections, it's like install base.
How do you feel
An
about
advanced reskin.
that? Yeah.
Oh, it's an interesting. That wasn't dismissive.
Yeah, I kind of, yeah.
Oh,
I don't know if
also-
I particularly play it, but then maybe I'm just not a fan of that particular sort of genre.
Yeah, fair enough. I think it's got a place somewhere as an okay game among this list of real fucking shit.
Unbelievable.
Merlin's Stools was an Alex pitch. Basically, mushrooms. Moving on.
Merlin's Tools or Stools?
Merlin's Stools. It was about mushrooms.
Merlin's Stool is you just have a little clearing in the woods, and you start off as a tiny little fungus, and you just have to create this mycelial network of fungi that connects all plant life and all trees, and you have to make your biome flourish. And it's just a very chill.
Before you
game.
continue, let's just go for the old classic rating system of if an audience was to play this game, which would they pick? A death race in the desert.
100% Eye of the Storm. No one's going to pick this, but I would pick it. I would be the one person that picks it.
Okay. Then there was Super Mario Bros. Detective Agency. I cannot remember what that was. Bryony pitched Coven. I vaguely remember what that was. Breath of the Wild.
That was
You're a
Breath
witch.
of the Wild, right?
Yeah. Mordho.
Everyone hated this. I thought it was great.
Again, I don't remember this.
Pretty
was
typical me.
a very boring simulator farming game, but you're a peasant.
Oh, it was a medieval
you
farming
were a
game.
farmer,
That's
but
why
it
I
was
said
like a
Mordho.
really-
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
It was a real slog. Again, like no one's going to play that over Eye of the Storm.
Yeah. Okay. Now Extreme
Now the next
PP.
one
Extreme
is,
PP.
now we're biased.
Is probably the one where we're actually. This is most likely going to be made.
Right.
Now this is not.
But it's not actually a video game.
It's not a video game. It's a card game where you have a deck of cards, maybe in three. I think it was 3 or 4 decks of cards. There's genre, mechanic, and theme.
And then
So this is the Pitch Please card game. Just by the way.
Oh, okay, right.
So. In the genres, you've got all the different genres of games, all the different mechanics from games, all the different themes of games like vampire, horror. I guess horror would be a genre, but whatever. And with that, we tried to pitch what our card game would be using these 3 decks of cards. Now, my game was a game where you draw, say, 15 cards, and the idea is to reduce your hand down to 0, like Uno. And by doing that, you do that by playing as many cards as you can and then saying the name of a game. So you could say Breath of the Wild, and I've played crafting, I've played cooking, I've played open world, I've played cell shaded. And you've played 5 cards, and that's your turn. And then everyone can argue it and say, is cooking in Breath of the Wild? Yeah, absolutely 100% fucking is. Is romance in Breath of the Wild? Yes.
No.
Yes, it is.
No, romance. No.
No. We went through this in the episode. 100% is. Anyway.
No. Not as a mechanic.
But the idea was to reduce your...
Who sees romance as a mechanic?
It wasn't a mechanic, no, but romance is in Breath of the Wild, so it counts. Anyway. So yeah, that was the Uno style game, kind of like a trivia mixed with, Uno kind of thing. Chris's game was very similar to
Snake Oil.
Where
you pick go ahead. No, I thought so you pick a genre, you pick a theme, and pick a mechanic, and you have to you have 60 seconds to elevate a pitch what your game is. So I think the example was
kids game in VR with finisher execution. VR game with
finisher executions. So you have to come up with a game that fits those categories in 60 seconds, and then
it's a blind pick as well, right?
Yeah, and then you win the publisher contract. It's like the first person to get 3 publisher contracts wins the game. So you go around in a circle.
Great, but both those games are solid.
I played Codenames yesterday, and I think we could put Codenames into our game, where you just have genres and mechanics all on the board, and with Codenames, you're meant to say one word to try and identify your team's cards as the spy master. Maybe you could say
that works.
You name a game, and you have to try and get them to pick all the mechanics and stuff that are in there, or the genre, or whatever. So I think it's one of those things where the game itself is 3 decks of cards with a load of different cards, like 200 cards or whatever.
But endless possibilities.
And we put in the game rules for 3 different games and say, here's how you could play it. Or, you know what? You've got 3 decks of cards. Fucking make your own game.
That's strong. You know what? I think we should dump Eye of the Storm.
What now? Why do you say that? As you genuinely think it's good,
I
think
we should dump it. Let's just get rid of it.
I mean, I'm all for it. I mean, we came up with it.
Yeah, right.
We've actually played this game, right?
We've played a version of it, and it was fun. It was actually very fun.
Sounds good. I would rather play this than whatever the Eye of the Storm is about.
Well, Matt, we will send you your physical copy.
So bitter.
I'm not bitter. I love that game too. It's good. But I like this one better.
Okay.
The only problem that we have is if we pick this, and then there aren't that many left now. If this wins, then the game that has won the best game out of all that we've pitched this year is not a video game.
And it's ours.
Yeah, and it's ours.
I mean, it's going to be ours anyway.
Okay,
we pitched all of these.
We have a couple more left.
And will be on sale mid.
Well, does anyone else think that this isn't better?
Now, look, I love Eye of the Storm. However, I think I would want to believe that Extreme PP is going to be a game that I'm going to play. And I've played a version of it already. I've played a version of Eye of the Storm thanks to that pong.exe. And it was cool. It was great. But
it was fine. It was
fine.
What you're saying is it was fine.
Yeah.
It was fine.
You heard the pitch, you loved it. But when you actually played it, you were like, yeah, this is fine.
Yeah, it was fine. But, you know, having played Eye of the Storm, I still voted it better than It's Not Me, It's the Gun.
Well.
Also, I think maybe I'm a little bit influenced by it's you know, there's a chance that maybe if it actually did go quite well, then we might make a bit of money from a card game, right? We're never going to be able to make a video game, you and me, Tom.
Yeah, no,
it's never going to happen.
Yeah, we could easily make this. Someone will rip all the art for it, put it on tabletop sim. We'll lose all the money for it, but you know what? People are playing it, and that makes me happy.
For 50 pence. Yeah.
50 pence. Yeah.
So are we all in? Is this all?
I'd say yes.
Extreme PP is the new winner so far.
Yeah.
Don't worry, everyone. We've got very few left.
I think the next one is a contender to beat Extreme PP.
I agree.
So Alex Smith of Hat Films, he pitched Thalassophobia, which is phasmophobia, but you're a diver going underwater to investigate strange occurrences. Maybe it's something as simple as, I don't know,
but
trying
it's
to
fantasy,
find.
though, isn't it?
It was I think it edged into fantasy a little bit.
It had an eldritch horror kind of.
Where, you go down, you investigate this wreck with your myriad of tools, much like Phasmophobia, while trying to discover what happened down there. However, there's also, again, like Phasmophobia, there's the guy that stays in the van. There's the bellman who has to stay back and monitor your oxygen levels. He's also got the rope that can pull you back if you get into too much trouble.
Lets your oxygen line out.
So all this diving takes place very close to the coastline then, if there's a van, I'm assuming.
No.
The bellman, so in old diving, there's a bellman and they sync it with the divers and it basically creates a pocket of air, and that's where all the oxygen goes through, and it has all the cables in. So there's a huge line going up to the surface where there's a boat. You're in the bell with the men.
Okay, so it's not actually a van.
No, in Phasmophobia, it's a van.
It's a big old, and then they have a hole in the bottom that they dive through.
Right. So I was envisioning quite an unimpressive coastal exploration.
We should just check if Matt knows what Phasmophobia is. Have you played this?
I know what Phasmophobia is.
Okay.
It's a professional.
I know what it is. The fact that every point of this game was followed by like Phasmophobia.
It does feel very much like one of my pet peeves, which is Phasmophobia, but Subnautica. However,
I think this is actually.
I kind of liked it.
But it was cross between hard space shipbreaker as well, where you can deconstruct. You have tools that have certain abilities to open doors if there's like a hole that you need to breach through to get treasure, but you're also limited by air. And there were creatures, but I think that's where we got the eldritch stuff from.
Going like Lovecraft,
because it would ping up on your radar
and stuff.
Because obviously your vision is very
it's a
short
very
distance.
Communication
so you'd see a ping
game.
on your radar, and you're like, "What is that?" And you'd be like, "It's fine. It's just this."
Like the divers themselves, unlike Phasmophobia, the divers themselves are very limited. They have to be out there to collect what they need to collect or discover what they need to discover. However, they're very limited in what they can see, hear, how well they travel, and whatever else. The bellman has to communicate so much information so quickly. So it's kind of keep talking, nobody explodes. Phasmophobia, Subnautica. That's pretty much the game.
Well, and there was also like a collection and curation element to it where you could create, because that was one of the things that we talked about, was that there was like this, if it was a kind of like Lovecraftian world, then you would get these all weird kind of undersea creatures, and you would be able to collect them from different parts of the world and basically take them back to your ship, put them in a museum area or whatever.
Yeah. So that would encourage replayability and
I think the idea of being under the ocean with very little visibility and that feeling that something is very close to you that's very big is something that could be tapped into and be great. I don't know if it beats Extreme Peep. I don't know.
Matt?
How's everyone else feeling?
Verdict.
Yeah, I quite like it. I think it. I don't know. I feel bad about giving this award or whatever the hell it is to
It's not an award.
which is lifting so much from Phasmophobia.
It does lift a lot from there. I think that was the entire.
I mean, it's a good
premise
setting.
behind it.
You know, it's a good use of a good place to put those mechanics. Though I do like the idea of it, and I found Phasmophobia very very scary and atmospheric, and I liked it. But I would find the diving would add something more to that as well, because I'm scared of being underwater and things. So
Thalassophobic. That's what that is.
Oh, is that what it is? I don't actually have a proper fear. I just, the idea of being underwater and drowning is I
don't think anyone enjoys that.
I wouldn't go around going, "Oh, I'm thalassophobic," everyone. Because, it's not like being signed off by a doctor.
I'm thalassophobic.
How deep is that sink? Oh, it's quite a shallow one.
You can drown in an inch of water.
If you're the focus group and you're given this or Extreme PP, what are you going with?
I don't know, like a horror diving game versus just a load of cards with words on them. It's like the mature part of my brain appreciates the Extreme PP game for what it is. So I would still say that personally.
Okay.
Yeah. I feel the same. Go on.
I was thinking about this because I think this game actually beats Eye of the Storm. So I'm going with Thalassophobia, but I think it's better than Eye of the Storm.
I'm going with Thalassophobia. So it's up to you, Alex, actually.
Fuck.
Well, it doesn't matter, right? We've got
No. I vote Extreme
2-2.
PP. I think Thalassophobia, I like it, I think, but like Phasmophobia, it's going to capture me for a month, maybe 2 weeks, maybe a week, maybe like a couple days. And then I'm going to be like, all right, cool. Yeah. I've seen the Cthulhu thing. I'm not scared of it anymore. I'm not going to play it anymore. And once you reach that point, then there's no more to the game.
That's true.
Yeah, that's pretty much where I'm at with it. I think it would be a lot of fun for a short amount of time, like Phasmophobia is or was.
So you're saying the infinite replayability of Extreme PP, the best game ever made, is gonna beat out Thalassophobia?
I think it's got to do it for me. Yeah, I think it does. I'm sorry, James. James is putting his
keeps its crowns. Right, okay. There's 4 left.
There's 3. Oh, there's 4. We'll skim some. Simon Clark, the champion Simon Clark, or the ex-champion who brought in Eye of the Storm, came back with what can definitely be described as the difficult second album, because it was Tiger Woods' Reclaim, which, I'll be honest, it was like 3-4 weeks ago. I can't remember it.
It was about like rebuilding like an unbuilder. So instead of a city builder, you're retaking the city as nature.
Oh, after
and then someone said it was a golf game, and that's why I said, "Oh, Tiger Woods," because obviously golf and trees.
No idea where the golf thing came from.
It was a city unbuilder. You're
starting off at like this city that's like it's
you have to know
right?
about propagation and like seed propagation. It's like, okay, there's a huge storm, so if I make sure I plant some plants that are. You play as Mother Nature, I think. Make sure I plant some plants that have the ability to spread via the wind.
Yeah,
there's some rabbits over there, so I need plants that can be spread through rabbits eating them and then pooing out their seeds.
There was also things like planting strong trees near the buildings so that you can break the boundaries, because you can't cross roads until the road has been
concrete
has been destroyed or whatever. So there was an idea of planting certain plants so that you could break through the boundaries and expand your city space and things like that. Go.
I would say if I'd bought Eye of the Storm, and I loved Eye of the Storm and its crazy action, and then they were like, from the makers of Eye of the Storm, I'm like, great, I fucking loved Eye of the Storm. And then I picked up their next game, and it was about trying to knock down architecture with trees by growing them and breaking up tarmac so you could cross a road. I'd be like, what the hell happened
Are
to
you
this
saying
studio?
it's like when he did Mad Max and then made Happy Feet?
You said it was a difficult second album, but I'm sorry, that
So
is
Happy Feet
just...
or Babe Pig in the Sea?
This is the lead singer.
That is a difficult second album. That's the head of the studio went mad.
The lead
and
singer
came up
left
with
the
that.
band. No, the bassist left the band and made his own album.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just
All right.
that's such a. I know this isn't just me being vindictive. This is just a huge no from me.
Ringo
Wow,
Starr
okay.
game.
I don't think any of us are going to be with. Yeah, I like the idea of a relaxing
I
game. I don't think this is it.
There's something there. However, again, like, would I play it? Nah. Next up
This
was
next one might be similar.
the questionably named Plan It World. I don't really know why it was called that. Ultimately, this was an RPG town builder where you are building a town that for a game, right?
Oh yeah.
So it's like Planet Coaster, it's like Planet Zoo, where you have they are NPCs. You build a tavern, you build houses and things like that. But it all is hinged around the idea of the hero of the story visiting the town as if he's playing a game. And they'll come in, they'll navigate the town like, oh, cool, there's a tavern where I can pick up some items. Awesome. There's a save point. Great, I can save my game here. Perfect. Or there's a house I can go into and smash all the pots to pick up some coins and stuff. Great. I like this town, and I'm gonna leave satisfied with that. And you gain some gold or whatever for it, and then you use that gold to build more things. Maybe you build a bridge across the river, and you happen to build a farm nearby, and that could potentially unlock the side quest for the hero to pick up. There's an ogre under the bridge, and then he comes into the town again later on, and does that side quest. It's like, cool, great. I watched him do this thing. Now, I will say, it does err into the Dungeon Daddy style of building a load of
I was
stuff
about to say.
just to watch a dude explore your village. Now, I know how Matt's going to feel about that, so I'm already willing to accept the loss on this one.
It's not just me. People, I was very vocal in this episode, and I received comments from people about how unfair I was.
Yeah.
But let's see if it's just.
I mean, I thought it was all right, but
I think it's a cool game. You know what kind of a hero is going to come to your town. Maybe it's a barbarian, so you're like, cool. I'll swap and change this house to be something I can destroy or whatever. Or maybe I put hammers in the shop.
I'm surprised how many of these pictures have like a before and after face to them. It's quite an odd thing.
What do you mean?
Like, well, like as in you do something and then you see something play out.
Two of them.
Yeah, well, no, across the board. There's a lot of like prepping. I don't know. I feel that way about like deck builders too. It's like you build this thing and then you do this thing with it. I don't know. It's a thing.
I guess that's a very deck buildery thing, which we
Yeah,
have incorporated
yeah.
into a lot of. We are very heavily deck build influence, which is something that we've tried to come away from, but perhaps unsuccessfully.
But I can't. I love them too much.
It's fine. This idea. I'm not
All right.
like. I'm not
So
in love
it's
with
not.
it.
It's not as bad as
It doesn't
Dungeon
offend
Daddy.
me the same way that Dungeon Daddy does.
What he didn't tell you is you play as a giant crystal overseeing a village.
I think
Dungeon Daddy, aka the tutorial crystal, as it's actually should be called.
All right, this isn't going to win out over extreme PP, is it?
No,
So-
okay, fine.
So
And
I
the
think
next
we're going to have
one-
to do the final one.
The final one, which was last week's episode, or I suppose not quite last week when this is released, but sure that we'll actually.
Oh yeah, we switched them
hang
around.
on.
I think.
No, this is last week's episode because we missed a week. Anyway, Bed and Neckfist, this is called.
Okay, good. I like the name.
Now, this was based on mine and Chris's best friend, serial killer, which we rapidly backpedaled when we found out he was a serial killer. Anyway.
I had an original idea that we came to realize was maybe too problematic, and had to switch it around.
There's the Trap Hotel where he's built this hotel in which he can navigate the walls, and built a load of traps so that he can kill the people that are living in it. I think it's an actual story.
Basically, you're like the guy with the Chicago murder hotel, and you're a serial killer, and you own this hotel, and your job is to basically you just have to run the hotel whilst also trying to murder people and trying to steal your victims and create traps in interesting ways. And in an effort to make it not so problematic, we turned it into essentially Hotel Transylvania, where you're vampires running the hotel, so you can try and get people to of different monsters, right?
Take their blood, or Frankenstein, and he wants to create a Frankenstein's wife, so he wants to take humans away so he can cut off their limbs and shit. And it was essentially like
much more endearing,
like Theme Hospital, but like Theme Hospital,
but with murder and kidnap,
but with a lot more murder and kidnapping.
I really like this one. I really love the idea of having like running a hotel or running, some kind of like facility where you have to do the normal stuff, do the normal management stuff, but then also have this extra layer of being a monster with your various needs and abilities.
All your staff
I thought it was good.
Horror characters with their own needs. Maybe you've got Satan and he wants to take the souls of people. So imagine it in like a Theme Hospital style where you build the particular rooms. People come in, they rent the room, they go into the blood chamber. Great, vampires are happy.
The huge hurdle this has to get over is the fact that anyone looking at this hotel would look at its board of directors and go, well, we got a vampire, a Frankenstein, a Wolfman, an actual Satan, and then it's like no one between these people. I am fucked if I stay in this hotel.
And no one has checked out in 30 years.
I think there was also a level of deception in there where if the vampire hunters come in or the the monster slayers come in, you have to try and disguise yourself as humans. I think Satan can do that pretty easily. He can disguise himself as.
It's too many monsters running one hotel. Like a hotel run by one vampire, maybe, but a hotel run by a selection of monsters who are competing for different bits of their guests. Come on.
I'd like to add that one of the I just clicked on the video so I can see the comments. I enjoyed the game until Tom made it a vampire game.
All right, fine. Let's go back to this. If it was literally just a serial killer hotel game, which, by the way, will never get released. Because there's no way that we can market this game as like be your own serial killer, kill your guests. That's why I turned into a vampire game.
I don't think it's as good, and I think we might end this bumper podcast with the game that we all came up with as the winner.
It basically now feels like an advert for that product that you want to sell.
Look, I think.
Well, okay.
We've got a list of games. Look. No. You know what? We've reached the end and we've reached the verdict. PP Extreme is the Pitch Please game of 2020. And you know what?
Does anyone have any out of any of the other games that we've had? Does anyone have like one?
I think we should all say our favourite.
We should all have.
We should all say our
favourite.
I think mine is "I Love You, the Kidnapper." Because it genuinely has made me laugh the most out of.
Where was all this love for "I Love You, the Kidnapper" in the fucking desert cast?
Excuse me, I voted, but my vote didn't count because it was 3v2.
How quickly we abandoned the Kidnapper.
I was there. Alex was the one.
Any personal favourites?
James, have you got a personal favourite outside of Extreme PP?
Right, I'm going back to Eye of the Storm. I've thought about it some more. Thalassophobia, nah. Eye of the Storm, that's my winner.
Okay. And my personal favourite is, of course, Dungeon Daddy and the Crystal of Wisdom. I think it's a genuinely incredible game. I think anyone listening to this will hear my Chow Garden argument and they'll agree with me wholeheartedly. And
right, so
it's a winner for me.
That means that Extreme PP is the 2020 winner, right?
The 2020.
All the things that we've come up with. Extreme PP, a card game, a not video game.
What a messy, troubling year it's been, but we can cap it off by giving you one more disaster. A card game has won Pitch Please 2020 Game of the Year.
The video game podcast.
The video game design podcast. It's a card game where you can make whatever games you want. And I think that sends a nice message. You're listening to this thinking, wow, I wish I was so clever as these guys. Clever and creative, you probably think. Funny and attractive too. that they can come up with so many amazing games. Well, no, what I'm saying is that our game of 2020 is the gift of creation to you. Make your own games with PP Extreme coming 2025.
Wow, amazing! You're right. It was an advert.
Less bugs than Cyberpunk.
Thank you, everyone, for sticking with us for not just this bumper episode, but the whole year of. I mean, let's face it. I'd say largely terrible ideas.
Mediocre
right ones in there.
Ideas.
There were definitely games.
They were for a year of games
And a couple of apps.
And Matt, thank you for giving up your afternoon when.
No worries.
Just being.
I just hope I didn't put any unfair pressure on the judging process. I mean, I didn't win anything, so it would suggest I didn't.
So yeah, for 2020, the Pitch Please Award goes to ourselves.
Yay! I mean, who else would it go to? We pitch the ideas.
Well, look, we have guests.
That's
true.
Give it to those
You've got a guest
schlubs.
back on only to give the prize to your four selves and not me.
What a flex it is, though. Welcome
That's
back to the
really awesome.
podcast.
Go listen
Sorry
to
about
Matt's
that.
podcast.
Yeah.
Look,
as
we'll
as
get you- we'll get you
commiseration.
a free copy of the game. Okay, that's
Thank
the.
you.
Thank you
What an
everyone for
even
listening.
bigger flex.
This is going to be the final podcast of the year because we're all going away for holidays and stuff now, and you're probably not going to listen anyway because you're going to be doing that. So thank you everyone for listening. Again, Matt, thanks for joining us. And from everyone here, thank you for sitting with us this whole year.
Fuck.
Thank you.
Thank
Go
you
play
so
games.
much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Have a lovely
Bye-bye.
new year, you motherfuckers.